Chapter 686. He was not tall and slender, nor did he have a sage-like demeanor, nor was he gloomy, cold, or awe-inspiring. His figure was slightly plump, his skin was a little tanned, and his smile was a little wretched. It was a very ordinary old man, exactly the same as the old men he saw in the fields in the village. However, this old man was not ordinary at all. The general cherishes his fortune. Jiang Fengxing was Jiang Junling's grandfather, the head of one of the most powerful families in Yanjin. With the wisdom of the ancients, they created the phrase, wealth comparable to a country. We often use the phrase as rich as a country to describe a person's wealth, but most of the time, it's actually a praise for that person. This was because most people's wealth couldn't rival a country's. Those who could truly rival a country were extremely rare existences in the human world, and the Jiang clan was one of them. In Dream of the Red Chamber, in order to describe the wealth of the three great families, they even made up a few rhymes like this. Jia is not fake. White jade is the hall. Gold is the horse. 300 li of a Pang palace cannot hold a single official of Jinling. The East Sea lacked a white jade bed, so the Dragon King invited the king of Jinling over. A family of generals would not use white jade as a roof and gold as a horse. They would not do such a vulgar thing. However, the wealth of the Jiang family was far beyond that of the Jia, Shi, and Wang families. No one in the outside world knew how much wealth the Jiang family had. Even the Wolf King of the Jiang clan didn't know about this, right? That's great, the teacher said with a smile. I haven't eaten your chive dumplings for many years. That's because an esteemed guest like you doesn't easily pay a visit. Jiang Shifu chuckled. Tell me, what's so good about guarding Swallow Dock? With such a group of powerful people around, who could bully them? Do you really have to be like an old hen protecting her chicks, guarding there for a moment? I say, when you have nothing better to do, you should come out and walk around more. You should go to Yanjing City more often. You didn't see your group of old friends in Yanjing City back then? Aren't I here now? Mr. Wang said with a smile. An old friend is an old friend. Whether he comes or not, we're still friends. While Jiang Shifu was talking to the teacher, he had already walked out of the vegetable field with a basket. He handed the basket in his hand to the tigress and said, wash the vegetables, then add a few more eggs and fry them together. Chop the stuffing into smaller pieces and add more sesame oil. I'll go mix the dough later. The tigress carried the basket and left, leaving Shifu in the corner of the yard with the tap to wash his hands. The teacher pointed at Fang Yin and said, Fang Yin. Oh, there were waves rolling in Jiang Shifu's eyes, and in an instant he restored his tranquility. He looked at Fang Yin with great interest and said, let's eat dumplings later. Young people should eat more bowls. Fang Yin smiled and said, I will try my best. Fang Yin didn't expect to eat dumplings at the general's house. He also didn't expect the dumplings at the general's house to taste so good. Tigress stir-fried dumpling stuffing. Shifu and dough rolled into dumpling skin. It was neither soft nor hard, and the thickness was just right. With a single bite, his mouth was filled with oil. The green flavor of the chives and the aroma of the eggs blended together perfectly. It was even more delicious than the dishes cooked by star-rated chefs. The teacher ate a small bowl, and Jiang Shifu also ate a small bowl. After the two of them ate the dumplings, they each held a bowl of dumpling soup and sipped it. Fang Yin ate 3 bowls in a row. When he ate the second bowl, he felt almost full. The tigress asked him to eat another bowl, and he felt that eating another bowl was fine. Since the teacher dared to eat it, he wasn't worried that there was poison in the dumplings. Jiang Shifu looked at Fang Yin with a smile and said, it's good to be young. When I was young, I could eat 5 bowls, but it wasn't a bowl like this. It was a bowl that was much bigger than this. Each bowl was full of sprouts. That bowl must be filled with dozens of dumplings, right? Dipping it in chili oil and mixing it, eating the dumplings, and then drinking the soup, TSK. That taste is really beautiful. The teacher looked at Jiang Shifu and said, you speak as if you had suffered a lot when you were young and how much tiredness. When I knew you, you were still a playboy. Brother, eating dumplings with chili oil was just you getting tired of eating delicacies and changing your taste. Your ancestors have a foundation that can't be squandered in 10 lifetimes. You can't lie to me about this kind of thing. Jiang Shifu laughed loudly and said, "It's strange. Our Jiang family has produced great generals and great scholars, but we've never produced farmers. But I just happen to like this life in the countryside. I like to grow some flowers and plants, grow some fruits and vegetables, and make my own dumplings to eat. Stepping on the muddy ground with my feet makes people feel at ease. Your heart is at ease, but other people's hearts aren't at ease," the teacher said with a sigh. "AI, it's all the children's business." Jiang Shifu said, "Do you really think it's worth bringing it out of your mouth?" "It's indeed the children's business," the teacher said. "The children's business isn't necessarily a small matter. At the very least, my side is quite passive." The teacher held the bowl in one hand and pointed at Fang Yin with the other, saying, "Look, he's already come knocking on our door. How can we not give an explanation?" "Then give him an explanation," Jiang Shifu said. He drank most of the noodle soup in the bowl in one gulp, then put the large bowl on the stone table and waved at Fang Yin, shouting, "Young man, come here." Fang Yin quickly stuffed the last dumpling in the bowl into his mouth, threw the bowl to the side, and walked in front of the two elders. Jiang Shifu looked at Fang Yin and asked with a chuckle, "Are you full?" "I'm full." Fang Yin chewed the dumpling in his mouth and quickly swallowed it. "It's good that you're full," Jiang Shifu said. "This is the first time you've been a guest at my house. I don't have anything else, but I have to make sure you're full. Since you're full, let's talk about some serious matters." Fang Yin knew that the main topic had come. He didn't respond and waited for Jiang Shifu to continue. Jiang Shifu looked at Fang Yin and said, "Long Qinxiang said that you came knocking on our door, so we have to give you an explanation." "What kind of explanation do you want?" "Father died tragically, and Huacheng was in danger. I want justice," Fang Yin said with a serious expression. It was all done by that brat of our family?" "Indeed," Fang Yin said. He was worried that Jiang Shifu would act shamelessly and be unwilling to admit to the disgusting things his grandson had done. In his heart, he was willing to do anything for his family, not to mention a small matter like lying and acting shamelessly. "I think that many people can testify to this matter. I'm not doubting your character. I've also heard a little about what that brat has done." Jiang Shifu smiled and waved his hand. "If Jiang Junling returns, he will naturally punish the Jiang family. But you also know that ever since Jiang Junling went to Huacheng, he hasn't returned. If that's the case, how should I give you an explanation?" "So you're saying that the Jiang family is prepared to deny it to the end?" Fang Yin said with a cold smile. He knew that the matter wouldn't be so easily resolved. Now, the Jiang family was indeed beginning to quibble. After the failure of the encirclement at the summit of One Sword Peak, Jiang Junling had indeed disappeared without a trace. Of course, his disappearance was aimed at outsiders like Fang Yin. If even the Jiang family themselves, or the Jiang family's old man, Jiang Shifu, didn't know where Jiang Junling was, then they were treating people like idiots. Was Fang Yin an idiot? Fang Yin would only eat for free. Don't be impulsive. Don't be impulsive." Jiang Shifu saw the anger on Fang Yan's face and comforted him. "Young people are hot-tempered. I can understand your feelings, but the truth is like this. I know that if I tell you that I've never seen Jiang Junling, you absolutely won't believe me. But I really haven't seen him. I really can't drag him out and kill him. But the Jiang family cares about our reputation. We won't do something like not investigating the wrongdoings and not punishing the evils." Jiang Shifu thought about it, then looked at Fang Yin and said, "I can't find him. If you can find him, then you can do whatever you want, but the Jiang family needs to make a statement about this matter. How about this? I'll banish that bastard from the Jiang family and remove his name from the family tree. What do you think of this punishment?" Banishing Jiang Junling from the Jiang family and removing his name from the family tree was a serious punishment. If Jiang Junling was no longer a member of the Jiang family, then he wouldn't be able to use the Jiang family's resources, and he would become a stray dog without power. If Jiang Junling's name was removed from the family tree, then he wouldn't be able to enter the Jiang family's ancestral hall or tomb after he died. In other words, Jiang Junling would have no parents, no relatives, no ancestral tablets, and would become a person without roots. Thinking about how Jiang Junling would have no roots in the future, Fang Yin was quite pleased. However, this kind of punishment didn't have much meaning to Fang Yin. If the Jiang family could banish Jiang Junling and remove his name from the family tree, then they could call him back. Even if they didn't allow Jiang Junling to return to the family tree, wouldn't Jiang Junling no longer be a member of the Jiang family? At that time, without the restrictions of his identity and with the secret support of the Jiang family's resources, wouldn't Jiang Junling be like a fish in water and be able to do even more things? However, Fang Yin had no way of rebutting Jiang Shifu's proposal. In a situation where they couldn't find Jiang Junling, they had already shown such great sincerity. What was there to be dissatisfied about? Fang Yin thought for a moment, then said with a smile, "Wouldn't that make it impossible for the Jiang family to reunite? You reap what you sow. You can't blame anyone else." Jiang Shifu looked at Fang Yin with a smile and said pointedly, "Everyone should pay the price for their own stupidity. What does young friend Fang think?" "Yes." Fang Yin pretended not to hear the deeper meaning in his words and said solemnly, "Jiang Junling will die without a doubt." After leaving the Jiang family, the teacher turned his head and glanced at the tightly shut wooden door. He sighed softly and said, "The Jiang family wants to kill you." Chapter 687. To draw a dragon or to draw a tiger, it was difficult to draw its bones. One might know a person's face, but not their heart. When Fang Yin arrived at the Jiang family to denounce them, not only did he not hear any harsh words, he did not receive any trouble from anyone. Instead, he was treated with great courtesy. The Jiang family's old patriarch, Jiang Shifu, was amiable and treated him like a nephew. He did not put on airs when speaking to him, and even ate several large bowls of dumplings that the Jiang family's old patriarch had personally made. In the end, Jiang Shifu straightforwardly gave him an explanation and took the initiative to expel the wrongdoer Jiang Junling from the Jiang family and remove his name from the Jiang family genealogy. If that was the case, didn't that mean that the Jiang family recognized their mistakes and were sincerely apologizing to Fang Yin? That was obviously not the case. The Jiang family was a prestigious aristocratic family, and their every move was watched by countless people. Jiang Junling's plan to encircle and annihilate Fang Yin at Flower City's Single Sword Peak had failed, and anyone who paid attention already knew about it. Now, Mr. Swallowdock had personally taken action and brought the victim, Fang Yin, to the Jiang family to collect their debt. No matter what, the Jiang family had to give Fang Yin an explanation. Not only an explanation to Fang Yin, but also to Mr. Swallowdock and to the countless pairs of eyes that were watching and watching from the shadows. If the Jiang family did not handle this matter fairly and did not handle it beautifully, then the character and virtue that they had built up over thousands of years would be instantly wiped out. The Jiang family is using their power to bully others. The Jiang family has caused the Jiang family to be ruined, and they did not even say a word of apology. The Jiang family has really gone too far. They don't even want any face. This kind of rumor would definitely spread through the mouths of countless people, and the matter of the Jiang family using their wealth to bully others would become a pillar of shame that would be tied behind them. Therefore, when Mr. brought Fang Yin to his door, the old man of the Jiang family personally received him. His words and actions, as well as the final result of their handling of the matter, made it so that no one could find any basis for criticism. Even the most picky observer, after learning about the way the old man handled the matter, could not say a single word of criticism. If the matter of Fang Yin eating the dumplings personally made by old Master Jiang in the Jiang family's old house were spread out, perhaps many people in Yanjing City would develop feelings of envy and jealousy towards Fang Yin, and even more people would not be able to help but give a thumbs up to old Master Jiang and say benevolence and righteousness. In order to save the face of the hundreds of people in the Jiang family, old Master Jiang had considered everything inside and outside of the family. However, it was also because of this that the teacher said that the Jiang family wanted to kill Fang Yin. Would you argue with a dead man? Would you care about a person who you knew was going to die getting more benefits? Of course not. The reason why the Jiang family treated Fang Yin so generously was because they would soon take back everything they had paid from Fang Yin. It was just like how gangs were willing to buy arms at a high price, but when the arms dealers were about to leave with the money, they would immediately kill them. In the end, they would get the goods and money back. Therefore, what was so unacceptable about a higher price in the beginning of the negotiation? Fang Yin turned his head to look at the Jiang family. The wooden gate of the Jiang family's courtyard was already closed. After it was closed, the Jiang family's old house was exactly the same as the other old houses. In the middle of this long street, it seemed somewhat inconspicuous. No one would have thought that the famous tycoon of Yanjing was hiding in the dim yellow light of this old street. Fang Yin squinted his eyes and smiled, saying, "Why does Mr. say that?" Their attitude was a bit too kind. The Mr. said, the apology was a bit too easy, and the punishment for Jiang Junling was a bit too severe. They were the ones who committed the crime in the first place. If their attitude was a bit more kind, their apology would be a bit faster, and their punishment for Jiang Junling would be a bit more severe. Isn't this something to be expected? Besides, I don't think their punishment for Jiang Junling was that severe. Banishing him from the Jiang family, removing his name from the Jiang family's genealogy, is something that has no real meaning. Rather than that, wouldn't it be better for them to drag Jiang Junling out and chop off one of his arms or 3 of his legs? Is that still a punishment? Fortunately, he didn't say something like drinking 3 cups of wine as punishment. Otherwise, I would have fallen out with that old fellow on the spot. Fang Yin, do you still not understand? The Mr. sighed softly and said, in the past, your opponent was Jiang Junling, and only one Jiang Junling. But from today onwards, your opponent is the old patriarch of the Jiang family, the entire Jiang family, and their branch families. Do you understand? You are about to face a colossus hidden in the darkness. No one can pry into their entire bodies, but a single roll from them is enough to set off a storm. Fang Yin looked at the Mr. and said, Mister, have you understood this a long time ago? I have. If you understand, then why did you bring me here to demand a debt? My original intention was to bring you here to smooth things over and untie this dead knot. But both of you are too stubborn. If Shifu had hesitated a bit or was willing to bargain with me when we proposed an explanation, I felt that there was a chance and would have done all I could. However, he agreed without hesitation and even immediately stated his solution. This proves that he had long since prepared a draft in his mind and made a decision. There is no meaning in talking anymore. Fang Yin nodded and said, I also feel that the atmosphere of the Jiang family is a bit too strange, but what can I do? Even if you don't bring me here to demand a debt, even if I refuse the Jiang family's apology, will the Jiang family be able to live in peace with me? No, the Mr. said. So do I have a choice? Or is it better to say that simply avoiding will solve the problem I face, the crisis I will encounter? No, if that's the case. Fang Yin squinted his eyes and smiled, a mocking smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. Why can't I act a bit more forceful, and then give Jiang Shifu, that hypocritical old fellow, the middle finger? You gave him the middle finger just now? The Mr. paused and asked. I did, Fang Yin said. I did it secretly in my heart. It's not that I don't dare, I just feel that doing this is a bit too much of a loser. If word gets out, I'll be laughed at, Fang Yin said. The Jiang family is too strong right now. If I give him the middle finger, others will only laugh at me for overestimating myself and say that I'm an ant laughing at an elephant for needing to lose weight. But when the day comes when I trample the Jiang family under my feet, wouldn't everyone's applause be even more enthusiastic when I do this again? Trampling the Jiang family underfoot is what I'm going to do next. Although it sounds a bit difficult, when I faced Jiang Junling, no one thought that I had any chance of winning. The Mr. looked at Fang Yin and said, So, be the Mr. Swallow Dock. I can help you. You're trying to trick me again. The guest left, the host left. After the courtyard door closed, old man Jiang Shifu walked towards the backyard with a teacup in his hand, humming a tune. Every night, he had to water the flowers and plants he planted. He had to do this by himself, and no one else was allowed to help. Jiang Shifu placed the teacup on the stone table under the grapevine, and then carried the sprinkler to water the triangle plum in the nursery. General Xing, dressed in white, stood behind him and said with a smile, "I could smell the fragrance of the dumplings in the study, and my saliva was about to flow out of my mouth. At that time, I wanted the tigress to send me a bowl, but I was afraid that the guests would laugh at me. That kid is really lucky to be able to eat the dumplings that Grandpa personally made." General Xing turned to look at the tigress in the dark corner and said, "Is there any more of Grandpa's chives dumplings? If there is, tell the kitchen to quickly make a bowl for me, a big bowl. If there isn't any, give me a bowl of dumpling soup. At least let me satisfy my craving first." The tigress chuckled and said, "I know that young master likes to eat this, so I specially asked the kitchen to leave a bowl for you. It should be ready now, right? I'll bring it over for you." General Xing had a satisfied look on his face and said, "Go, go. I can't wait." When the tigress turned to the kitchen to bring the dumplings, General Xing said to Grandpa, "Today, these two unwelcome guests are not easy to entertain, right?" "Unwelcome guests? How evil can they be?" Jiang Shifu said without turning his head. "How powerful can a cat be? Can it eat people like a tiger?" "Grandpa, let's not talk about Mister. He has guarded Swallow Dock for decades, and his hands and eyes are everywhere. Even that person above him is his brother. Although that kid Fong Yin is young, he is not easy to deal with. We can't be deceived by his appearance." Jiang Shifu turned his head to look at General Xing and grinned. "I was just testing you on purpose. I was afraid that you would make the same mistake as the military order. If that kid was really a simple person, how could he force your little brother to the point where it is difficult for him to return home? If he was really an ordinary person, how could he have the guts to run to our Jiang family and flaunt his strength? I had no choice but to make dumplings for him and expel your little brother from the Jiang family to settle the matter." General Xing nodded and said, "It seems that Grandpa's evaluation of him is very high. Giving birth to a son is like a general's order. That old bastard Song Zanyang really is shameless enough to do anything to support his disciple." Jiang Shifu said with an unfriendly expression, "It's fine if things go smoothly. These words have the smell of fate. But if there are any twists and turns, won't these words become a whip that ruthlessly slaps your face?" Chapter 688. Why did Jiang Junling immediately flee after his defeat, even daring to return to the family? If I were him, I would be too embarrassed to return and have children, just like Jiang Junling. His cheat master made him the benchmark of all the heroes in the world. But this benchmark was easily pushed by someone. How could he have the face to return? Coming back would just be adding a joke to the Jiang family. The higher you climb, the harder you fall. Now, if anyone mentions those words in front of the Jiang family again, feel free to slap them. No need to doubt that he definitely doesn't have any good intentions. Even if Jiang Junling were to hide in the remote mountains and ancient forests, he would still feel a burning pain on his face when he muttered those words, right? When it came to matters involving his own younger brother, General Xing was normally unwilling to speak. Moreover, he really didn't know how to respond to this kind of matter. Saying he was good was against his heart. Saying he was bad was jealousy. Simply not saying anything was the proper thing to do. The Fong Yin of the past wasn't even worth mentioning compared to Jiang Junling. Does anyone think that Fong Yin can defeat Jiang Junling? It really is unexpected, General Xing said with a wry smile. At that time, Fong Yin was just an earthworm, his entire body soft and limp, seemingly without any strength. However, this earthworm that didn't have a single bone in its body was able to push through the hardest soil. Jiang Shifu said with a serious face. Even if its body was chopped into 8 or 10 pieces, it would still be able to live well. This is a true hero. This is a person truly worthy of admiration, an opponent worthy of respect, an enemy worthy of reverence. A person should be an earthworm. Don't think about being a flood dragon. Even if you really are a flood dragon, wait until you know how to move clouds and summon rain before revealing your true form. Otherwise, you would have long since been slaughtered by others. Grandfather, I understand. General Xing nodded with a serious expression. I will definitely be careful and cautious, and definitely won't make the same mistakes as the military orders. It's good that you understand, Jiang Shifu said. Because of that, Brad, our general family has suffered heavy losses. Your fifth uncle has a knot in his heart and is resentful. No matter how arrogant Junling is, he is still a capable child of our general family. He has suffered losses time and time again, and has been bullied time and time again. The general family does not look good. What does Grandpa mean? I say that people should learn from earthworms, but don't wait for the earthworm to ascend and become a flood dragon. General, Shifu said softly. That brat has the support of the Qin family, and he also has Chao Yin to rely on. He has turned Flower City into his own backyard, so we can't give him another chance. He was a wolf from Zhongshan, and when he succeeded, he became arrogant. When he becomes powerful, the first thing he'll destroy will be our Jiang family. Since the war has already begun, General Xing looked up at the dark night sky and said, "Then let me end it." The tigress brought over the freshly cooked dumplings. General Xing took it and hurriedly picked one up and stuffed it into his mouth. With a face full of happiness, he said, "I really wouldn't exchange it even for an immortal." Within the red walls, Fang Yin was like a granny who had just entered a grand view garden for the first time. He looked around curiously at everything he saw. The place he was standing on had a special meaning in the political landscape of Huaxia. More than 90% of Huaxia's policies and laws came from here. This was the holy land in the hearts of countless people, and also the forbidden land under the feet of countless people. Under the ginkgo tree in the courtyard, the benevolent old man who was often seen on TV looked at Fang Yin with a smile. His words carried a strong Beijing accent. He said, "Young man, you look very spirited. If you go to the army, you'll definitely be a good seedling." This old man had started in the military and now held the power of the country's army. So he had a very special feeling towards the army. He was a qualified soldier, so he also hoped that the younger generation he saw could become an outstanding soldier. "Thank you, Chief. Whether I go to the army or not, I'm still a soldier of Huaxia. When the country needs me, I won't hesitate to die for the country." Fang Yin smiled and thanked the old man. What he learned was Tai Chi, so he learned it naturally. He respected this old man, but he didn't feel nervous, because he knew that only when it was natural could he show the best of himself. As expected, the old man was very satisfied with Fang Yin's attitude when talking to him. He patted his thigh and said, "Heroes come from the young. To be valued so highly by Qinxiang at such a young age, he must have something extraordinary." Looking at the teacher sitting opposite him, he said, "Qinxiang, it's been a while since you brought me to see such an outstanding young man." The teacher held the moonlight teacup in his hand and said in a deep voice, "I have some things to take care of, so I want to pass the position of teacher to Fang Yin." The old man's expression was slightly confused, but he returned to normal in an instant. He laughed and said, "This is your family's matter, so it's up to you to decide. If you think he's good, then he must be very good." "Thank you, Chief," the teacher said seriously. The old man waved his hand and said, "Qinxiang, let's not talk about this between us. This moonlight teacup is not bad, right? You know that I've always liked collecting cups, and this moonlight teacup is my favorite among my many collections. Only when Qinxiang comes, I can't help but show it off to you. Usually, even I can't bear to drink tea with it. I'm afraid that I'll accidentally break one. No matter how precious something is, it will only have its value after it's used. What's the value of something that can't be used?" The teacher said with a smile. "You're too naive." The old man laughed and said, "That's true. But sometimes, even if you know you've made a mistake, you still don't want to correct it. Most of the time, we make mistakes in the name of love." "That makes a lot of sense," the teacher said. "I just made a big mistake in the name of love. Now, I'm taking this kid around to atone for my mistake." After chatting for more than 20 minutes, the secretary came over and whispered in the old man's ear that the prime minister of a certain country had arrived and was waiting in the conference room. The old man's time was counted by minutes and seconds. Every minute and every second was filled up over the course of a few days, or even earlier. When he found out that the teacher had brought Fong Yin over, it was not easy for him to take such a long time to meet with them. The old man waved his hand to show that he understood. He looked at the teacher with a face full of guilt and said, "Qin Xiang, I still have something to take care of today. While I'm completely free, I'll go to Swallow Dock and stay there for a few days. We'll drink and play chess and have a good time. Then I'll wait for you." The teacher also stood up and said, "Go do your work. We won't disturb you anymore." The old man nodded and looked at Fong Yin. "Fong Yin, I think we'll have many opportunities to meet in the future. Is that so? I want to come here every day to drink tea and ask for advice. But I know that's impossible. The chief is very busy every day, and he deals with military and national affairs," Fong Yin said with a smile. The old man looked at Fong Yin thoughtfully and said, "Meeting you is also dealing with military and national affairs. Fong Yin is very good. Keep in touch with Jianjun in the future." Jianjun was the old man's secretary, a middle-aged man who wore glasses. When Zhang Jianjun heard that the chief wanted to keep in touch with Fong Yin, he couldn't help but look at Fong Yin again. Old people of this level would never say any unnecessary pleasantries. If they liked someone, they liked him. If they didn't dislike him. He said that he wanted Fong Yin to keep in touch with him, which proved that he really wanted to talk with Fong Yin. The old man hurriedly left with the secretary. The teacher and Fong Yin were still sitting in the courtyard drinking tea. The teacher looked at Fong Yin and said, "Swallow Dock's matters are military and national affairs. I never felt that I was so important before," Fong Yin said. "Brave warriors guard the four directions," the teacher said. "Every country places great importance on the training of special forces. Because most modern wars are local wars and conflicts, when there is no way to send a large number of troops, the existence of an elite force is very necessary. There are even some developed countries that are researching genetic warriors or genetic medicine. Our country started late in this area, or in other words, many people even reject this extremely cruel way of unearthing one's potential at the cost of personal consciousness. The old man, just now, was one of the people who opposed it. So, the existence of Swallow Dock just happened to make up for this flaw. Warriors unearth their life potential by conforming to the heavenly way and integrating with nature. They don't need injections or drugs, and there are no side effects. So, how can Swallow Dock not be important? Huaxia has 3 dangerous places, and the 3 dangerous places are all at the very edge of Huaxia. Song Mountain, Beihai, and Devil Gobi are not even heard of by ordinary people, but every year there are Swallow Dock or other elites from the inner Jianghu who are sent to guard them. Every year, the soul summoning banner is raised in the village, and every year, new tombs appear in the back mountain. Those are all great men who sacrifice their lives for the country. How can such places not be valued? Is the teacher of such a place a disgrace to Fong Yin's character and talent? Fong Yin was speechless. The teacher went around in a big circle just to convince him to inherit his mantle and become the teacher of Swallow Dock. When did the teacher of Swallow Dock become so worthless? The old man just now also said that I haven't brought elites from Swallow Dock to visit him for a long time. The teacher said in a deep voice, 7 years ago, I brought Bai Xiu here. 16 years ago, I brought Dao Ling here. Earlier, I brought Xiao Di here. He likes people like Xiao Di the most. Fong Yin knew that MO Light Enemy was very cool back then, but he still didn't expect MO Light Enemy to be so cool. Even such a person loved him so much. What a pity, what a pity. Thinking of the old drunkard's current encounter, the hostility in Fong Yan's heart rose again. Huaxia Dragon God, there will be a day when we fight. The teacher glanced at Fong Yin and said, the chief told you to keep in touch with Jianjun, so you should keep in touch with him. When Bai Xiu came, did the chief say this? Fong Yin asked curiously. The teacher glanced at Fong Yin and said, no. Fong Yin grinned and said, I knew he didn't say it. Chapter 689. The teacher sighed softly and said, Bai Xiu just went the wrong way. Otherwise, he could be called a young talent. Among the younger generation, there are not many people who can compete with him. Fong Yin glanced at the teacher and said, I hope you don't mind what I said. Of course, even if you do mind, I still have to say it. Although you always put Bai Xiu on a high pedestal and said how powerful he was, I still killed him. Is this considered a counterattack by a nobody? What kind of nobody are you? You were born in the Fong family of Tai Chi. Your grandfather is a god of Redwall. Your father is a celebrity in the painting world. Your mother was born in a family of scholars. And your grandfather is the prime minister of the academic world. Most importantly, Mo Qingdi, the only master of the way of heaven to come out of Swallow Fort in 100 years, is also from your Fong family. He has already comprehended the heart of Tai Chi at a young age. If such a background is still considered a nobody, then how do you expect the thousands of ordinary people who rely on their own hands to start from scratch and even can't make a name for themselves for the rest of their lives? Listening to what you said, it turns out that I'm also a second generation of martial arts. It's because you're too outstanding that the opponents you provoke are people like Jiang Junling. Otherwise, how could things have developed to this stage? Being too outstanding is also a kind of original sin. Fang Yin shook his head helplessly. Whether it's Bai Xiu or Jiang Junling, they're both enemies because I'm too outstanding. But can you blame me for that? It's just that they're too narrow-minded. Yi Jinle is also outstanding. I'm always beaten black and blue by her. But have I ever been jealous of her? I even like her very much, and I'm even willing to marry her. The teacher smiled helplessly and said, "You're a man, but you're quite jealous." "This is not jealousy," Fang Yin said. "How can I be jealous of Bai Xiu? I just strongly condemn some of his actions. If you're good enough, the worst that can happen is that you'll be killed by someone even better than you. However, if you were not outstanding enough, you would be drowned by thousands of ordinary people like you. No one could see your face, and no one was willing to listen to you. No one would care whether you were happy or sad. You looked like you were walking in a lively crowd, but in fact, you only had yourself as a companion. Which one will you choose? I don't want to be killed by outstanding people, and I don't want to fade in the crowd. I hope I can be the center of attention when I walk in the crowd. I hope that every word I say, there will be countless people to listen to me carefully." I laughed, and the others laughed too. If I cry, someone will cry with me. Fang Yin looked at the teacher with a serious expression and said, "I hope to be able to live an outstanding life. When a wild goose flies over people's heads, it still knows to scream a few times at the top of its voice to let people know that it has been here." The teacher nodded in praise and said, "It is not easy for us to come to this world. How can we not leave behind something? What kind of people are the big winners in life? The heroes who fought bravely, the pillars of the country, the great poets who left their names in history. For thousands of years, their names shone in the long river of history and were commemorated and sung by countless people. They were the real winners in life. Some people can manage for a lifetime, while others manage for generations. Fang Yin, I hope you can become that kind of person. I also know that you have the ability to become that kind of person." Fang Yin was silent for a moment, then said, "So, what should I do?" "Come with me to see someone." "See who?" Fang Yin asked. "A very important person," the teacher said. "More important than Jiang Shifu and the bureau chief." Fang Yin was shocked. 100 times more important than Jiang Shifu and the bureau chief, the teacher said with absolute certainty. Fang Yin was so shocked that he could not speak. The teacher asked if Fang Yin had time today, and Fang Yin said yes. So the teacher brought Fang Yin to Yanjing to see the old general, Jiang Shifu, and the old chief behind the red wall. These two old men were influential figures in Huaxia. One could stir up the economy of a country with a stomp of his foot, and the other could mobilize millions of lions with a word. Especially the latter one. He had a decisive position on the map of the entire world. But the teacher said that he was going to bring Fang Yin to see someone 100 times more important than them. What kind of person was that? Fang Yin's face was flushed, and his body trembled slightly. He knew that the teacher had a very deep network of connections, but he did not expect that he could follow behind him and see all the heroes in Yanjing. Out of the red wall, across the moat, through the black tortoise gate, turned right on Chang'an Street, and entered the old Huimin Street. After passing a dozen shops, the teacher stopped in front of a small noodle shop. Fang Yin looked up and asked, Is this the place? This is the place, the teacher said with a nod. In order to prove that he did not lie to Fong Yen, he pushed the door open and walked in. Fong Yen looked up again at the name of the noodle shop, a bowl of mixed sauce noodles. Only then did he push the door open hesitantly and walk in. The teacher had already found a seat and called out, 2 bowls of mixed sauce noodles. Fong Yen sat across from the teacher and said, Teacher, where's the big shot you mentioned? Right here, the teacher said. Fong Yen looked around at the simple facilities of the noodle shop and said, Why is the big shot here? The chef of this noodle shop is a big shot. He is a hidden master. Fong Yen asked with wide eyes, his face full of expectation. The mixed sauce noodles he makes are very delicious, the teacher said. Fong Yen wanted to jump up and curse. These old guys, your humor is not humorous at all. I hate listening to your jokes the most. Who can be more important than the chef of mixed sauce noodles who can fill our stomachs and not starve to death? The teacher saw Fong Yan's disappointed expression and said with a smile, This mixed sauce noodles is the most authentic in Yanjing. Every time I come to Yanjing, I have to come here to eat. In the beginning, I could eat 3 bowls at a time. Later, I could only eat 2 bowls. Now, I can only eat 1 bowl. Fong Yan did not want to talk to him. No matter how delicious the mixed sauce noodles are, it is just a bowl of mixed sauce noodles. This old man is too much. If you want to eat something good, you can just tell me. I'll lead the way, and I'll treat. Was there a need to be so secretive? The greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. Fong Yen was in a very bad mood now. You're here. A crisp voice with a Beijing accent sounded beside his ear. Fong Yen looked up and saw a girl in a white dress walking towards them. The girl was young and immature. Her soft long hair draped over her shoulders, and she wore a floral apron around her neck. She looked fresh and refined. The girl walked in front of Fong Yen and the teacher. She smiled at Fong Yen and said to the teacher, Grandpa Long, do you want 2 bowls of mixed sauce noodles? Little Bai, didn't you go to school today? Grandpa Long, today is Sunday. I don't have to go to school. Did you forget? The girl looked very familiar with the teacher and replied with a smile. Oh, the teacher nodded and said with a smile, So it is Sunday. Grandpa, you are confused. Grandpa Long, you're confused about small things, but you're smart about big things. The girl winked at Fong Yen and said jokingly, No one is smarter than you. You little brat, you only know how to flatter Grandpa. The teacher said with a smile, But this time Grandpa has no gift for you. Humph. The girl wrinkled her nose and said with dissatisfaction, I knew you didn't bring me a gift. You stingy brat, drink cold water. Ha, I don't want to drink cold water. I came to eat mixed sauce noodles. The teacher smiled happily, and the wrinkles on his face smoothed out a lot. It could be seen that he liked this little girl very much. The teacher pointed to Fong Yen sitting opposite and said, He is called Fong Yen. The girl looked at Fong Yen and said, Big brother Fong Yen, don't be with this stingy old man. If you learn his stingy habits, no girl will like you in the future. Fong Yen nodded and said with a worried expression, I will separate from him after eating this bowl of noodles. The girl giggled and said, Yes, quickly separate from him after eating the bowl. You can't be with him for too long. You two are quite congenial. The teacher said with a smile. Of course. The girl raised her beautiful and flawless face and said, Big brother Fong Yen is young and handsome, and he is not stingy. How do you know he is not stingy? The teacher looked at Fong Yen and said, I don't see you give her any gift. Why is this girl saying good things about you? Fong Yen also looked back at the teacher and said, Didn't my aunt say that I am young and handsome? This is a world that looks at faces. Sir, don't force yourself too much. Since Little Bai is speaking for you, you should give her a small gift. The teacher looked into Fong Yan's eyes and said, Sir, do you think it is necessary? Fong Yan looked at the teacher and asked. The teacher nodded seriously and said with a firm voice, It is very necessary. Fong Yan thought for a moment and took out a heart-shaped stone from his pocket and said, I accidentally found this when I was walking by the river. The girl took the stone and said happily, Ah, it is the same type as Li Chun. Chapter 690. The same as Li Chun? Fong Yin was stunned for a long time and asked, What's the same as Li Chun? Don't you know? The girl had a contemptuous expression that said, Uncle, you're out, and said, there's a very handsome teacher in our school named Li Chun. Every time he pursues a woman, he will give her a heart-shaped stone. The girl raised the small stone in her hand and said, it's exactly the same as this one. Later, he fell in love with Teacher Wong from our school. Teacher Wong posted a photo of the small stone on WeChat and said that it was accidentally picked up by Teacher Li Chun while walking by the river. It represented his wholehearted love for her. As a result, Teacher Zhang and Teacher Lin from our school also posted photos of their small stones on their WeChat moments at the same time and said, Li Chun, your family runs a tourist souvenir shop, right? Later, we found out that Teacher Li Chen's family does run a souvenir shop. There are as many of these heart-shaped stones as you want. Nowadays, if the boys in our school pursue the girls they like, they will also buy one of these heart-shaped stones as a gift. It has become a trend. This is a very popular thing. My piece is different from Li Chen's, Fong Yin said with a serious expression. He pointed to the dark purple star-shaped stone in the little girl's hand and said, do you know what stone this is? The little girl shook her head and said, I don't know. Isn't it just a stone? This is a meteorite, Fong Yin said. It's a meteorite that hasn't burned out outside of Earth. It deviates from its original orbit or quickly falls to Earth in pieces. The meteors we often see are these large stones that are burning and finally disappear completely, or a small piece falls on Earth. A meteor that hasn't burned out isn't rare, but it's extremely rare for it to turn into such a hard shape after burning. Don't you think this stone is much heavier than a small stone of the same size? The girl rubbed the heart-shaped stone in her palm and looked at Fong Yin with admiration. She said, Brother Fong Yin, you're amazing. I also found it by accident. I thought it was quite interesting, so I kept it, Fong Yin said with a smile. Fong Yin didn't find this stone by the river. He saw it in the antique shop of the Blue Mountain Club in Lanshan Valley and took it back to give it to Yiro. He didn't even have time to send it out before he followed his teacher to Yin, Jing City. Now that the teacher was forcing Fong Yin to give the little girl a gift, Fong Yin had nothing else in his hands, so he had to give the small stone away. Anyway, it wasn't something too rare. If he wanted it, he could just ask Lan Shanggu and the others to help him find it. If he couldn't find it, he would just polish it. Such a small problem wouldn't stump a smart person like Lan Shanggu. If Teacher Li Chun told such a story like you, Teacher Zhang and Teacher Lin would definitely not be angry, right? It turns out that the stone isn't important. What's important is how you spin the story around the stone. Fong Yin was drinking tea, and he almost spat out the tea in his mouth. The teacher was amused by the little girl's words and laughed. Looking at the embarrassed Fong Yin, he said, You're one of the few sharp-tongued people in Swallow Dock. Usually, no one can make you suffer. How about it? Did you meet an expert today? I was talking to her seriously, but she misunderstood me, Fong Yin said with a wry smile. The little girl bowed slightly to Fong Yin. The V-neck of her white cotton dress hung low, revealing the girl's small chest that was like a baby pigeon. She smiled at Fong Yin and said, Brother Fong Yin, I'm joking with you. Thank you for your gift. I know that this stone is different from Teacher Li Chen's stone. This is a meteor, a heart-shaped stone that heaven gave me. The teacher waved his hand and said, All right, girl, go in and serve us the noodles. Help us put more marinade. Your grandfather always puts too little. It's too stingy. The girl made a face at the man and ran in with a smile on her face. The teacher retracted his gaze and looked at Fong Yin and said, Her name is Bai Jia, Bai Xiu's sister. I guessed it, said Fong Yin. There aren't many people with the surname Bai to begin with, and it's even rarer for you to specially bring them here. Fong Yin, I've never underestimated your wisdom. It's precisely because of this that I specially brought you here to take a look. This is Bai Xiu's home. Their family runs a noodle shop. It's because I like eating their noodles that I discovered Bai Xiu, the little fellow. After that, I brought Bai Xiu to Swallow Fort and made him stay by my side. Mr. looked at Fong Yin with a serious expression and said, You saw it just now. Bai Xiu's sister is an ordinary person. She doesn't have any schemes and doesn't know any martial arts. Her grandfather is a master of brazing. and her father is a master of making wheaten food. Their family has been running a noodle shop for generations. The most delicious noodle they make is mixed paste noodles. You'll know when you try it later. Fong Yin stared at the teacher with sharp eyes and said, "Are you afraid that I'll take revenge on these ordinary people?" Fong Yin, I can feel the hostility in your heart. It's so strong that even I'm shocked. I know that Bai Xiu has wronged you. Bai Xiu killed your father and tried to kill you. Now Bai Xiu is dead, but the resentment in your heart hasn't completely dissipated. You're still thinking about revenge and killing people. I know that if you have the heart, you'll find this place sooner or later. With your scheming methods, you can destroy this family with just a move of your finger. The teacher said in a heavy voice, "From my point of view, I can't make you stop, and I don't want to talk nonsense about revenge. I brought you here to let you see it with your own eyes. I want you to rest assured that this family can't hurt you. They can never hurt you." Fong Yan's face was so gloomy that water could almost be wrung out. He looked at the teacher and said, "Do you think I'm that kind of person?" The teacher was silent and didn't answer. "Do you think I can do that kind of thing?" The teacher was still silent. "Do you think I'll do anything to these ordinary people who don't have the strength to trust a chicken?" The teacher acted as if he didn't hear Fong Yan's question. "The noodles are here." The little girl, Bai Jia, came over with 2 big bowls of mixed sauce noodles on a tray. She placed the bowls in front of the teacher and Fong Yan, and then put cucumber strips and marinated sauce bowls in front of them. She said with a smile, "Be careful with mixing. Don't splash it on your clothes." The little girl liked to smile very much. Every time she said a word, she habitually showed 2 small dimples on her cheeks. She was a slim and graceful young lady, and when she smiled, it was as if she had her own little son. Every time she looked at her, there was a feeling of radiance in all directions. After she placed the bowls of noodles, she looked at Fong Yin and said, "Brother Fong Yin, let me help you mix the noodles?" Only then did Fong Yin stop looking at or confronting the teacher. He turned his head to look at the little girl and said, "Thank you, Bai Jia. I can do it myself." How do you know my name?" The little girl's white and tender face instantly turned red. She stared at the teacher with dissatisfaction and said, "Grandpa Long, did you tell him?" The teacher lowered his head to eat the noodles and said, "He gave Lu Xing to you, and he still doesn't know your name. Isn't that impolite? Then I should say it." The little girl said with a red face. "Okay, you say it next time." The teacher said, "You have already said it. What else can I say?" "Really?" The little girl was a little angry. The teacher pushed the bowl of noodles in front of Bai Jia and said, "Come, mix the noodles for Grandpa." "Oomph, you eat it yourself. I don't want to mix it for you." The little girl stuck out her small chest and said proudly. The teacher shook his head and took back his bowl of noodles. He poured the cucumber strips and marinated sauce into the bowl of noodles and stirred himself. Bai Jia saw Fong Yan's rusty mixing movements. She grabbed the chopsticks from his hand and said, "Brother Fong Yin, let me help you." With that, she stirred the chopsticks skillfully. Pulling and pulling, flicking and pressing, Bai Jia's movements were quick and agile. There was also a unique rhythm, as if she was performing a musical instrument. Soon, Bai Jia pushed a bowl of mixed sauce noodles to Fong Yin and said with a smile, "Brother Fong Yin, eat it quickly. It won't taste good when it's cold." Fong Yin nodded and said, "Thank you. You're welcome. You just gave me a meteorite. It's nothing for me to help you mix the noodles." The little girl squinted her eyes and smiled again. The teacher sighed softly and said, "This is really an era where looks are important." Bai Jia curled her lips, raised her head, and said, "Humph, who asked you to tell others my name? I should have told him myself. I had already thought about it. When I came out, I was going to tell him, but you brought it forward." The teacher lowered his head and ate the noodles. He said, "Isn't it because I saw that Fong Yin is good-looking?" At this moment, the glass door of the noodle house was pushed open from the outside. A few tall men walked over. When the bald man saw Bai Jia, who was standing beside Fong Yin, talking and laughing, his eyes immediately lit up and shouted, "Bai Jia, Big Brother wants to eat your underwear today." As soon as this sentence came out, the group of men laughed unscrupulously. Chapter 691. The bald man laughed arrogantly. He was very proud of his classic line. If he could, he really wanted to have a loudspeaker in his hand so that the whole street could hear the joke he unintentionally said. What a humorous and witty line. It was tens of thousands of times better than those written by novelists. The men who had followed him and laughed heartily, but there was also a hint of malice in their laughter. Regardless of whether he really thought that his words were interesting or that he was vulgar or obscene, he still had to take care of his face. After all, he had to pay the bill every time he ate, so he had to give something in return, right? Brother Jang Wo, do you want to eat Little Miss by Jie's lower body? Or do you want to eat Little Miss by Jie's lower body? A man with shoulder-length hair blinked his wretched eyes and said with a smile, Lin Hai, aren't you asking the obvious? Brother Jang Wo, of course, wants to eat Little Miss by Jie's lower body. No, it's Little Miss by Jie's lower body. A big man in a gray robe with a string of Starry Moon Bodhi hanging around his neck laughed and said. He looked exactly like a swindler on the street who pulled young girls and young wives to sell amulets. Isn't that the same meaning? What's the difference between by Jie's lower body and by Jie's lower body? Can't they all be eaten? They should also be delicious, right? In the middle of the crowd, an enchanting pretty boy said in a coquettish voice while holding an orchid root, Bai Jie is so beautiful. I'm also willing to eat. Bai Jie seemed to know these people. Her face was ruddy, her cheeks puffed up, and her eyes stared at the bald man with murderous intent. She said, Kong Jang Wo, don't talk nonsense. Who wants to eat your lower body? Don't even think about it. Go away. Don't enter my shop. Hearing Bai Jie's answer, Kong Jang Wo became more energetic and strode toward Bai Jie. His huge body stood in front of the thin Bai Jie like a big grizzly bear coveting a little white rabbit. The little white rabbit felt that it was impossible to escape even if it had wings. She said, Little sister Bai Jie, is there a problem with your words? Is your family running a noodle shop? Since it's a noodle shop, brothers, if you don't give us lower body to eat, are you going to give us egg fried rice? You. Bai Jie took 2 steps back, avoiding the man's close proximity. What happened to me? Don't you think what I said makes sense? There was an undisguised evil light in Kong Jang Wo's fish-like eyes. He said, Sister, it's not the first time I've asked you out. Would you like to go to the bar with me tonight? Let me tell you, Big Brother will give you whatever you want to drink, and whatever you want to play, Big Brother will let you play. You could choose any bar in Ho-Hai or Samleton. How about that? I'm not going. Bai Jie refused flatly. Bai Jie, aren't you going to give me face? Let me tell you, if it were other female students, they wouldn't get such treatment. Then go find those who are willing to go with you. How classless. Fong Yin clicked his tongue. How unstylish. Kong Jang Wo only treated Fong Yin as an ordinary customer. He didn't expect that Fong Yin would suddenly shout out. This guy was really an idiot. When he shouted, he didn't even look at his brothers. There were quite a few of them here. You sat together with an old fart, and if you really fought, your side wouldn't be enough. Everyone wanted to be a hero and save the beauty. But before that, they had to think about whether they were a hero or a coward. Even if the cowards saved the beauty, most of the time, they would only get a you are a good person in return, and then the sister would disappear without a trace. When the police came to investigate, no one would help them make a statement. Kong Jang Wo's gaze finally shifted to Fong Yan's face. He carefully looked at him and felt that someone who could come to this small shop to eat zhajiang noodles must not be a prominent person. How could a prominent person come here to eat 18 yuan for a big bowl of zhajiang noodles? Of course, Kong Jang Wo, was an exception. If it wasn't for Bai Jie, he wouldn't be willing to bring his brothers to this broken shop to eat noodles. Going to the Wang Lao Air Kidney Shop into Qianmen to eat skewers and drink beer was a decent life. Slap. Kong Jang Wo's fleshy palm slapped hard on Fong Yan's shoulder. Fong Yan frowned slightly, but he didn't say anything. He just lowered his head and finished a long strip of noodles in his mouth. He had to admit that Bai Xiu's zhajiang noodles weren't as delicious as the teacher said. No matter how delicious it was, wasn't it just a bowl of zhajiang noodles? Moreover, the diced meat was so little, and the marinade wasn't spicy enough. He didn't know how this broken shop could stay open for so many years. Why didn't Bai Xiao starve to death in the past? While thinking about this, Fang Yin opened the chili sauce bottle on the table and poured a big spoon of chili oil on the dough. He stirred it vigorously, and the taste was especially different. It was so spicy that it was refreshing. Brother, what are you talking about? Kong Jiangwo bowed slightly and said with a smile. Because his big fat head was too close to Fang Yin's bowl, Fang Yin was particularly worried that the sweat on his face would drip into his bowl. Although the rice and porridge were earned by the sweat and hard work of the farmers, if someone were to directly pour someone's sweat into the porridge, perhaps not many people would be able to eat it. Fang Yin had no choice but to put down his chopsticks. He wiped the chili oil stain on the corner of his mouth with a paper towel and said, I said it's not classy. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Kong Jiangwo looked at Fang Yin with a smile and said, You think us brothers are not classy? That's not how it is. Fang Yin looked at Kong Jiangwo with a serious face and said, This way of speaking is very uncultured. If he doesn't have any culture qualities, then this man doesn't need to talk about classy. Qualities are the foundation, and classy is a deeper level of self-restraint. Kong Jiangwo was amused. The big hand that patted Fang Yin's shoulder began to exert force and said, Then what kind of way of speaking do you think is more classy? For example, what you said just now is very wrong. Fang Yin had the appearance of a good teacher. He seriously discussed with Kong Jiangwo. As for the gravity on his shoulder, if this fatso wasn't afraid of dislocating his claws, he could continue to exert force and treat it as a free massage. What did you say just now? You said you wanted to eat Bai Jia. Fang Yin glanced at Bai Jia's infinitely angry look and said, To be honest, I don't even have the courage to repeat those words. I can't say it. I'm sorry. In fact, this can't be blamed on you, because many people in society will make this kind of mistake. They are uncultured, but they like to treat shamelessness as humor, treat vulgarity as humor, and treat lack of class as yuppie to show off to the public. Shameless. How can you talk to our brother Jiangwo? Brother Jiangwo, slap his face. Slap him shamelessly. The sissy jumped out with great dissatisfaction. Fang Yin looked up at him and remembered his appearance in his heart. That's right. Look at how arrogant he is, as if he's some powerful person. The swindler pointed in the direction of the red wall and said, Do you know what that place is? If you're really powerful, you can walk around there for a man to see. I just came out from there. Fang Yin answered truthfully. The man who was eating his noodles with his head down looked at Fang Yin and said, Don't show off your wealth. The group of punks was stunned for a moment, then they laughed. The sissy clutched his stomach and said, I'm dying of laughter. I'm dying of laughter. Io, this little guy is really cute. Brothers, did you hear that? He said that they just walked around there. Do you believe him? Whether you believe it or not, I believe it anyway. This time we kicked an iron plate. Ha! I'm dying of laughter. We really had to go there. Fang Yin explained with some unwillingness. He was indeed a powerful person, and they really kicked an iron plate. Why didn't they want to believe his judgment? Kong Jiangwo's face was gloomy, and the hand that patted Fang Yin's shoulder became more forceful. He said, Since brother said so, then you have to tell me what is a real humorous yuppie. Let's brothers have a good experience. Kong Jiangwo also felt very strange. He usually liked to play with walnuts, and his hand strength was not small. He had pinched someone before. When his palm touched the kid's shoulder, the guy immediately cried and begged to let go. What's wrong with this kid? I've used so much strength, but he didn't notice it all? Or, I don't have any strength in my body today? Well, since you're humbly asking for leave, then I'll give you a good lesson. Fang Yin nodded with a smile and said, Huaxia's words are broad and profound. Any random combination will have endless wonderful uses. For example, let's use the phrase the goddess's lower part is a little salty as an example. Bai Jia's face was frosty. She angrily stomped her feet and said, Big brother Fang Yin, how can you say that? Oh, I'm not talking about you. Fang Yin quickly explained, I'm talking about the goddess. You could just treat the goddess as another woman. Fang Yin looked at Kong Jiangwo's friends and asked in a professional and responsible tone of a teacher, Think about it. How many layers of meaning does this sentence mean? 2. The The sissy raised his hand and answered. The first layer means that the goddess's lower part is a little salty. The other layer, hee, I'm embarrassed to say it. Anyway, you guys can think about it yourself. Chapter 692. Correct answer. Fong Yin hit the edge of the bowl with his chopsticks and praised. This sissy student answered correctly. The goddess's lower part is a little salty. This sentence literally has two meanings. We can simply misunderstand that he is evaluating the goddess's noodles with too much salt. Of course, it can also be very unhealthy to think in another direction. So, it depends on the relationship between the receiver and the speaker. If the receiver and the speaker are ordinary friends, then it is an evaluation of the noodles. Even if the receiver is very dissatisfied with the sentence, because there is another meaning to cover it up, it will also make people feel that it is harmless. If the two people are ambiguous or in a relationship, then it can be extended in another direction. That is, it will increase the interaction between the two people and also increase the interest and also increase the interest. Erotic but not obscene, interesting but not obscene, this is the charm of language. To evaluate a man's charm, it is not whether he has told pornographic jokes in front of others, but if he tells a pornographic joke, everyone thinks he is funny and meaningful, and everyone likes him very much. Fong Yin glanced at Kong Jiangwo and said, You went straight to the point, saying that you want to eat the goddess's lower part. You have blocked your way out. You are naked and do not hide your lustful shamelessness and restless desire in your body. The disadvantages of this kind of expression are, first, it proves that you are a hooligan. Second, it proves that you are an uncultured hooligan. Third, girls will never go to a bar with this kind of uncultured and unclassy hooligan. I'm talking about good girls. If you throw out 1,000,000, there will still be a lot of bad women who are willing to be inhuman for you. Everyone looked at Fong Yin with wide eyes, as if they were looking at a dinosaur from Jurassic World. This guy doesn't want to live, right? Kong Jiangwo's friends thought. This guy definitely doesn't want to live. Kong Jiangwo thought. Brother Fong, Yin is so interesting. Bai Jie's annoyance turned into a blush, and she looked at Fong Yin without blinking. This kid, the man raised his head to look at Fong Yin for a while, and then lowered his head to eat his noodles. For an old man like him, there really weren't many things in this world that could surprise him. Even when his disciple Bai Xiao was killed by Fong Yin, he only sat there in a daze for a while before understanding many things. Brother Jiangwo, Sissy couldn't help but remind Kong Jiangwo when he saw him standing there in a daze. Why don't you say something? Scold whatever you want, and do whatever you want. We will help you. Don't stifle yourself to death. Kong Jiangwo was indeed about to be suffocated by Fong Yan's words. He was angry. He was furious. He felt that he had lost face. It wasn't easy for him to say such a humorous sentence. In order to leave a deep impression on Bai Jie, he thought about his first line for 3 days and 3 nights. How could it be criticized by this kid as worthless? Not only was it worthless, but he also said that he was a hooligan. Yes, he was indeed a hooligan. He didn't deny this. There was nothing wrong with being a hooligan. There was beer to drink, skewers to eat, no need to clock in every day, and no need to be pressured by the boss. However, saying that he was an uncultured hooligan was a slap in the face. Who's uncultured? Who's uncultured? I don't know if Astra's king have anything else but culture. Kong Jiangwo's face turned from white to black, from black to purple, and finally from purple to crimson. His expression was ferocious, and his eyes were fierce. He clenched his big hand on Fong Yan's shoulder and said while gritting his teeth, You said that I'm uncultured. You said that I have no style. I want to see if you have any culture, if you have any style. When we fight later, don't cry. Bai Jie was anxious and shouted, Kong Jiangwo, let go of me. If you don't stop, I will call the police. Then call the police. Who do you think the police will help when they come? Kong Jiangwo suddenly turned around and looked at Bai Jie like a vicious dog. He scolded, Little bitch, sooner or later, I will force myself on you. A person's lack of culture and style would also be reflected in this aspect. He would turn hostile whenever he wanted. Because he had no faith in his heart, he didn't care about credibility. Except for the fear of violence, everything else was bullshit to him. They could be trampled and violated. Bai Jie wasn't used to this kind of dialogue. She opened her mouth, but she didn't know what more powerful words to refute Kong Jiangwo. He could scold her as a little bitch and say things like, "Sooner or later, I will force myself on you." However, she couldn't scold Kong Jiangwo as a big bitch and "sooner or later, I will force myself on you." If she really scolded him like that, Kong Jiangwo should be happy, right? In terms of scolding, women were born weak. The man raised his eyebrows slightly. He didn't think it was a big deal. He didn't even put Kong Jiangwo and the other little trash in his eyes. However, he didn't like others scolding Bai Jie, because he really liked this little girl who always acted coquettishly or sulked at him. He treated this girl like his own granddaughter. This kind of feeling was even deeper than his feelings for Bai Xiu. He hoped that Bai Xiu could become a talent, could become a teacher of Swallow Dock, and could become a pillar of the country. However, when facing Bai Jie, he had no hope. He only hoped that she could be happy. Therefore, he raised his head and looked at Fang Yin again. What he meant was, "Kid, don't quarrel when you can fight." "It's okay." Fang Yin looked at Bai Jie, whose face was red and eyes were filled with tears of grievance, and comforted her with a smile. "Don't be fooled by this guy's fat head and big ears. In fact, his body doesn't have much strength at all. His hand was on my shoulder for a long time, but he was actually massaging me." Hearing Fang Yan's words, Bai Jie's tears turned into a smile. She reminded him, "Be careful." The others weren't happy. The pretty boy looked at Fang Yan with jealousy and said in a resentful voice, "Brother Jiangwo, can you use more strength? Don't tell me you've fallen in love with this pretty boy. Look, he has a sharp tongue and doesn't know how to serve people at all. He's not worthy of you at all. Jiangwo, if you don't have strength, let me help you." The swindler in a Taoist robe said aloud. They all knew Kong Jiangwo's strength. Kong Jiangwo used so much strength for a long time, but the kid didn't even kneel down and beg for mercy. He didn't even show an expression of discomfort. Wasn't the truth in front of them? Kong Jiangwo threw the match. F***CK your grandma. Kong Jiangwo couldn't stand Fang Yan's sarcasm, and he didn't want to be looked down by his companions. He grabbed Fang Yan's shoulder with one hand, holding him so that he couldn't get up or struggle. His other hand clenched into a fist and smashed fiercely towards Fang Yan's head. "Who?" The wind from the fist blew. Bai Jie was so scared that she closed her eyes. Silence. Dead silence. Bai Jie opened her eyes in confusion and found that Kong Jiangwo's fist was caught in Fang Yan's palm. Bai Jie's small mouth turned into an O shape as she looked at everything that happened in front of her in astonishment. "Big brother Fang Yin, you look very powerful." Fang Yin looked at Kong Jiangwo's fat face in front of him and said with a smile, "Can't you use a little more strength?" "Bah!" Kong Jiangwo spat at Fang Yan's bowl of noodles. Fang Yin stared at this scene with his eyes wide open. He didn't have time to stop it, nor did he think about intercepting it. He really couldn't understand. How could a righteous hooligan do such a disgusting thing? "You're really—" Fang Yin weighed the words in his heart and said, "A pile of stinking mud." Fang Yin grabbed Kong Jiangwo's wrist and began to exert force. Kong Jiangwo once again heard his fingers cracking. His expression became hideous and distorted again, and large beads of sweat began to drip from his forehead. "Let go!" Kong Jiangwo endured the pain in his hand and put on an expression that he could completely endure it. This was a move he learned from Fang Yin. He said calmly, "Let go." Of course, Fang Yin wouldn't let go. "You bullied Bai Xiu's sister. Although I feel a little uncomfortable, I also feel a little happy. Who asked her to be Bai Xiu's sister? But you spat in my bowl. This is unacceptable." Fang Yin continued to exert force, and Kong Jiangwo's hand continued to make cracking sounds. But this time, it was not as clear as before. All that could be heard were intermittent, muffled sounds, as if the bones deep in the flesh were bursting. "Let go!" Kong Jiangwo couldn't hold it anymore. He was not only sweating, but also crying. Kong Jiangwo, who had just said to Fang Yin, "Don't cry later," was crying. He was sobbing and looked heartbroken. "Dad, please let go. Dad, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. Grandpa, 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 Grandpa." Kong Jiangwo didn't continue to call Fong Yin ancestor because as he spoke, his body began to tremble. Then, his vision darkened, and he fell straight on the floor. Bang! Kong Jiangwo's huge body smashed on the floor tiles of the noodle house, and several cracks appeared on the floor tiles. Fong Yin was shocked. If this guy said that he didn't practice the iron plate skill, it would really be unbelievable. Chapter 693. Kong Jiangwo's fist had become a fist, and it would always be a fist. The bones in his palm had been deformed by Fong Yin. Even the most brilliant surgeon would not be able to restore his fist. It was precisely because of this that he simply died from the pain. Towards bad people, Fong Yin was indeed not as kind and benevolent as he appeared to be. Kong Jiangwo fell to the ground unconscious. Kong Jiangwo's companions were all shocked. The sissy ran over and shook Kong Jiangwo's body with all his might. His voice was shrill as he shouted, "Brother Jiangwo! Brother Jiangwo!" He raised his head to look at Fong Yin. With a fierce expression, he roared, "Brother Jiangwo is dead. I don't want to live anymore. I want to fight you to the death." He waved his claws and pounced toward the direction where Fong Yin was sitting. Bang! Fong Yin kicked him, and the sissy's body rolled nonstop in the noodle shop. Crack, crack. His body crashed into the leg of another table. Perhaps it was because Fong Yin used too much force, or perhaps it was because the table leg had not been maintained for a long time. With a kacha sound, the table leg broke into two. Crash! The bottles of soy sauce, vinegar, chili sauce, and other condiments on the table all fell down, hitting the sissy's face and body. His eyes were splashed by the chili sauce, and he desperately rubbed them with both hands while screaming like a pig being butchered. The moment he rubbed them, the sound of his screams became even more unbearable to listen to. Fong Yin stared at him coldly and said, "I'll remember you. Just now, you asked your brother Jiangwo to slap my face. Slap me shamelessly. At that time, I was thinking of slapping you shamelessly." In the end, Fong Yin did not slap the sissy's face. Because the sissy's face was covered with condiments, he had no way to do it. The Jianghu doctor turned around and wanted to run. Fong Yin's body leaped forward and grabbed the Star Moon Bodhi beads on his neck. After grabbing it, he exerted force and the beads broke. Crack, crack! The Bodhi seeds scattered on the ground, bouncing and bouncing nonstop. With this force, the quack doctor's body flew backward and fell heavily on the floor. Just as the quack doctor was about to get up, Fong Yin's foot had already stepped on his chest. "What do you want?" The quack doctor swallowed hard and said threateningly, "I'm telling you, you'd better not touch us. We have many brothers. You just said that if Jiangwo doesn't have the strength, you'll help him." Fong Yin looked at the quack doctor with a smile and asked aloud, "I was just saying." The quack doctor quickly quibbled and said, "I'm a monk. I've never fought with anyone before. Why would I hit you? I was just joking with you." Fong Yin frowned and said, "My two masters are also monks. He saved my life. Then we're a family." The quack doctor was happy and quickly tried to get close to him. "If they know that there's a scum like you among the monks, they'll definitely take care of you personally." Fong Yin said, "I want to discuss something with you. Can you not wear a Taoist robe when you go out in the future? It's fine if you wear a Taoist robe, but you also wear a string of Bodhi beads. Your appearance is too ugly and your taste is too low. It will lower the overall appearance and aesthetic taste of our Tao sect." "No problem. No problem. I won't wear it in the future. I definitely won't wear it." The quack doctor quickly agreed. Not to mention that he didn't wear a Taoist robe. Even if Fong Yin asked him not to wear clothes in the future, he wouldn't refuse at this time. "You agreed so readily. It's obviously perfunctory." Fong Yin said, "I hate it when people are perfunctory." His toes twisted in the middle of the quack doctor's chest, and then two of the quack doctor's ribs were broken. He was lying on the floor like a dead fish. There were many questions that he didn't understand. The others wanted to escape, but Fong Yin shouted, "Come back." So, everyone stopped at the door and didn't dare to move. "Are you going to leave like this?" Fong Yin asked coldly. Plop! The long-haired little gangster knelt on the ground, kowtowed, and begged for mercy, saying, "Grandpa, Grandpa, we were wrong. We kicked an iron plate this time. Please forgive us. Please, we won't dare to do it again. Then he kowtowed to Bai Jia and said, Miss Bai Jia, please help us. We owe you a favor. We won't dare to harass you again. If you have any difficulties, just say it to us. Bai Jia bit her lower lip and didn't speak up for this group of gangsters. 2 more people knelt down. They didn't want to have their bones broken like Kong Jiangwo and the quack doctor. There were also 2 guys who had the spirit of not kneeling down and kowtowing even if their heads were broken and their blood flowed. Although they were full of fear for Fong Yan's means, they still stood proudly. Their calves were shaking nonstop. Whoever threw the trash can take it away. Fong Yan pointed to Kong Guijian and the quack doctor who were lying on the floor and said fiercely, Take them away from me. Don't affect our appetite. The group of gangsters didn't dare to refute. They quickly helped Kong Guijian and the quack doctor to carry them out. Hey, you guys wait for me. The sissy got up from the ground and chased outside. Opposite the bowl of Zhajiang Noodles restaurant was a dilapidated tea house. On the 2nd floor, near the window, a man wearing a baseball cap saw the ruffians fleeing in panic. He took out 100 yuan and placed it on the table. Then he went downstairs and walked in the opposite direction of the ruffians. He was like a bystander watching an interesting play. When all the gangsters left, Bai Jia walked in front of Fong Yin and said gratefully, Big brother Fong Yin, thank you. Are you okay? I'm fine. Fong Yin smiled and shook his head. Big brother Fong Yin, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. With just one move, you knocked down all the bad guys. The little girl confirmed that Fong Yin was really fine and became happy again. She said, Kong Jiangwo and the others are too bad. Relying on their connections, they usually swagger around on this street. Before this, they came several times. Every time, they want to make a move on people. So annoying, they won't come looking for you in the future. Fong Yin said with a smile. The little girl nodded seriously and said, Big brother Fong Yin taught them a lesson today. They won't dare to come again in the future. Knowing that Fong Yan's bowl of noodles was spat on, Bai Jia said, Big brother Fong Yin, I'll ask Grandpa to make another bowl of Zhajiang noodles for you. Don't eat this bowl. Let's go. I'll take you to the backyard to wash your hands. Fong Yin nodded and followed Bai Jia to the backyard. While the teacher was eating the noodles, an old man with an apron around his neck sat opposite the teacher. Bai Xiu was killed by this kid? The old man asked in a deep voice. His face was as black as iron. There was no expression of sadness or joy on his face. His name is Fong Yin. The teacher put down the chopsticks in his hand, sighed softly, and said, Like Bai Xiu, he's the most outstanding young man in Swallow Fort. What a pity. Just now, I thought of poisoning the bowl of noodles. The old man said. The teacher nodded and said, I know. I also had this worry, so after the noodles came, I tasted them first. That kid was brought by me. Even if there was poison, I had to taste the poison for him first. I've eaten your Zhajiang noodles for decades. If there's any strange smell, I can easily tell. You can't fool me. I knew you would taste the poison for him, so I held back and didn't poison it. The old man said, I don't blame him, but I just want him to die. What happens after he dies? The teacher's expression was calm, as if everyone was discussing a very insignificant matter. What happens after he dies? Will there be anyone from your Bai family who can survive? You know Bai Xiu's ability. Even he couldn't touch Fong Yin. Bai Xiu was killed by him. You can imagine what kind of scheming methods this kid has. I brought him to see Jiang Shifu. I brought him to see the old chief. After thinking about it, I brought him to see you guys. Why did I bring him here? Because I'm afraid. Bai Xiu killed his father. If he wants to destroy your Bai family, then he can really destroy your Bai family. Bai Xiu is the only male in the Bai family. The old man said. He killed Bai Xiu, which is equivalent to destroying our Bai family. Silly. The teacher scolded in a low voice. What about Bai Jia? Isn't he a child of your Bai family? Besides, it's not easy to have a grandson. Quan Man and Shuzhen aren't that old. At worst, we can just have another child. These people aren't from your Bai family. Because of this idiot Bai Xiu, you're going to sacrifice all of their lives? The old man was scolded by the teacher and remained silent. Fortunately, you didn't poison the noodles just now. The teacher said, Otherwise, your Bai family would really have no way to survive. You saw what happened just now. This kid doesn't hold back at all. He definitely won't give others a second chance. He's ruthless. Even you can't protect us? I'm old. The teacher raised his head and smiled bitterly. Shuang Long, we're all old. If you have time, go see the old chief. He's also old. He knows about Bai Xiu, but he didn't say a word. He praised Fang Yin, said that he's a good kid, and told him to keep in touch with Jianjun. He accepted Fang Yin and acknowledged Fang Yin. If there's no accident, Fang Yin is the teacher of Swallow Dock. The new teacher. Bai Xiu died in vain. The old man muttered to himself. Chapter 694. Bai Xiu died in vain, the teacher echoed. I have a son and a daughter-in-law. We can have more grandchildren. I have a granddaughter. At worst, I can let my grandson-in-law marry into our Bai family. I can always think of a way to carry on the family line. It doesn't matter. The old man rubbed the flour on his palms and said, but Bai Xiu can't die in vain. Bai Xiu already died in vain, the teacher said coldly. If you dare to do anything, I'll kill you first before Fang Yin does anything, so as not to harm my granddaughter. Then Bai Xiu can only die in vain? Big tears fell from the old man's eyes. How can he die in vain? What else can he do? Bai Xiu wanted to kill someone, but his skill was inferior. What else can he do? Why did I bring Fang Yin here? Do I really want to eat this bowl of noodles from your family? I want him to see with his own eyes what the Bai family has become. The Bai family is no longer a threat to him. We won't bring him any danger. I brought him here and let him see with his own eyes. It's countless times better than him coming here himself or sending people to find him. With me by his side, whatever he wants to do, he'll more or less consider this old man's feelings. If he comes here himself, if his friends come here, do you think the Bai family can survive? Things that can be solved with one sentence. Why did I force him to give little by a small gift? I was thinking if I should let them recognize a brother and sister. I just want him to have a good relationship with the Bai family. In the future, no matter what he does, he will think a little more, and he will also know how to hold back. Even if the Bai family is in trouble, he will still lend a hand. Fang Yin is a good child. If he wasn't forced into a corner, he wouldn't do anything to hurt people. Double Dragon, this is the best result. You can't ruin things in the middle. Bai Xiu died in vain. The old man sighed, got up, and walked towards the back of the kitchen. Another bowl of noodles, the teacher said. Zhajiang noodles without poison. The old man didn't say anything. The teacher put down his chopsticks and looked at the bowl of noodles in a daze. No one knew what he was thinking. This time, he could only eat half a bowl of Zhajiang noodles. After eating another bowl of Bai Xiu's fried paste noodles, Fang Yin and the teacher left together. Fang Yin wanted to pay the bill, but Bai Jie refused. Big brother Fang Yin, you gave me meteor and helped me so much. This bowl of noodles is on me. Bai Jie was so anxious that her face was red. She kept waving at Fang Yin, for fear that Fang Yin would put down the money in his hand. Fang Yin looked at her delicate and flawless face, nodded and said, all right. Thank you, Bai Jie. Your family's Zhajiang noodles are very delicious. Bai Jie grinned, waved her hand and said, it's what I should do. Brother Fang Yin, where do you usually live? Is it in Beijing? Fang Yin looked at Bai Jie and asked, what's the matter? Bai Jie's expression was bashful as she said with some embarrassment, I think I can look for you if there's anything in the future. If those hoodlums come again, I can also ask you for help. Can you give me your cell number? Fang Yin looked at the teacher, who nodded at him. Fang Yin had no choice but to say, sure. Bai Jie happily took out a white mobile phone from her pocket and said, Big brother Fang Yin, what's your cell number? I'll call you. Fang Yin told her his cell number, and Bai Jie dialed it. Shortly after, the mobile phone in Fang Yin's pocket rang. My name is Bai Jie. Bai Jie grinned and said, Big brother Fang Yin, please remember my number. That's right, I also have a brother named Bai Xiu. He's very handsome, but he rarely goes home. He's teaching in a village. I can introduce him to you in the future. Wang Yao said, all right. Fang Yin nodded. He knew that Bai Jie shouldn't know the identity of her brother, nor her brother's situation at this time. If she knew that her brother, Bai Xiao, had been killed by him, she wouldn't call him Big Brother Fong Yin anymore, right? One day she would know. At that time, what kind of eyes would she look at him with? Fong Yin was really looking forward to it. I think you two are the same kind of people. You can definitely be friends when you meet. Bai Jie said. Fong Yin smiled and said, I hope so. If he really was friends with Bai Xiao, it would be a blessing. At least in that case, his father wouldn't die. He would still be alive, still facing him with that cold and stiff face, saying some lessons that even he himself couldn't believe. Fong Yin and the teacher walked away, but Bai Jie still stood at the door and waved at them. Fong Yin turned around and looked. The little girl seemed to be frightened as she hurriedly turned around and ran back. Her head accidentally hit the glass door, causing her to scream in pain. Fong Yin laughed loudly, and his mood finally became a lot more relaxed. The teacher looked at the laughing Fong Yin, and a smile also appeared on the corner of his mouth. You don't hate me? Hate you? Hate you for what? Fong Yin asked aloud. Bring you to the Bai family, bring you to meet Bai Xiao's family, and use my own way to forcibly change your will. The teacher said, That's just anger, not hate you. Fong Yin thought for a moment, then looked at the teacher and said, Moreover, I put myself in your shoes. If I were in your shoes, maybe I would do the same thing as you. People must know how to put themselves in other people's shoes. After putting yourself in other people's shoes, your mind will become a lot more open. Because many times, we can easily become another person, a person that we originally didn't like. The teacher sighed and said, It's best that you have this idea. He looked thoughtfully at Fong Yin's expression at this moment and said, The Bai family almost poisoned the noodle bowl, I know. Fong Yin said, How do you know? Don't you think it's too strange? Fong Yin said with a smile, As soon as you walked into the noodle house, Bai Jie came out to greet you, proving that you were a regular customer of the Bai family's noodle house. However, from beginning to end, except for Bai Jie, who was busy going back and forth in the Bai family noodle house, no one else came out. According to etiquette, when you came over, they should come out to greet you. In the end, those hooligans provoked and even said such shameless words, but no one from the Bai family stood up for Bai Jie. The reason why I didn't immediately make a move was because I wanted to wait and see how they would deal with this matter. In the end, until the end, I didn't see them appear. When things are abnormal, there must be a reason. At that time, I knew that they had the intention to kill in their hearts. The reason why they didn't want to come out to greet you, the reason why they didn't want to stand up to help Bai Jie, maybe there was only one reason. They wanted to kill. If they wanted to kill, they couldn't easily stand up. Because they knew who I was, they were worried that they would reveal their resentment when they saw me. They were worried that I would see through the means they were about to use. They knew that they couldn't beat me, so the best way to kill me was naturally to poison the noodle house. So they dare not come out to see you, or dare not come out to see me. The teacher was silent for a long time and said, It's precisely because of this, because nothing can be hidden from you, so I told them not to provoke you. At this time, they had no ability to protect themselves. Only I sold my old face to support them. Fong Yin looked at the teacher and said, Sir, there's one thing you're wrong about. What's wrong? You don't know me well enough. Fong Yin said, For example, many people think that Bai Xiao and I are the same kind of person, and Bai Jie also thinks that I am the same kind of person as her brother, but I am not the same kind of person as him. My nature is good, and my heart is peace-loving. I won't harm people's lives and break up their families because of interests or other trivial things. I want everyone to live and live well. I know that every debt has a debtor. Bai Xiao killed my father, so I have to kill Bai Xiao. No matter what, I have to kill Bai Xiao. No matter who interceded in the middle, I have to kill Bai Xiao. But I won't kill his parents and family just because he killed my father. If I did that, I would become another Bai Xiao. Speaking of which, I suffered a big loss. If someone said that they would kill your family, they would kill your family, but you could only find a real murderer to take revenge. But aren't good people often at a disadvantage? If no one was willing to suffer a loss, if someone scolded you, you would scold that person's entire family. If someone accidentally hit your family with a car, you would hit that person's entire family. If someone hurt your family, you would kill that person's entire family. How could that be considered a normal person? This is a homicidal maniac that everyone is afraid of. I think when Juan will not fall in love with such a man, and you dare not give the position of Swallow Fort teacher to such a person, right? Fong Yin looked at the teacher, looked at his old face, and said in a deep voice, "How can there be real revenge in this world? At most, it's just revenge. The victim always suffers more. Because if there's a choice, most people hope that nothing has happened, and that the people they care about the most are still living happily and healthily." Chapter 695. Junling, a famous celebrity clubhouse in Yanjing. The clubhouse was founded by Huaxia's piano goddess, Li Junling, with an actual usable area of 3,000 square meters. The clubhouse was divided into 4 areas, designed according to the 4 themes of Scotch whiskey, red wine, Japanese food, and cocktails. On the side of the bar in the cocktail area, there was a performance stage with advanced sound equipment. On it was a Steinway ruby and ebony piano worth $1.5 million. Li Junling, the piano goddess, would also hold small concerts here from time to time. After the performance, there was no need for any post-processing. It could be directly recorded into a CD. In addition, in the hotel next to it, there were also supporting facilities such as a spa and a gym, fully satisfying the various needs of the rich for enjoyment and privacy. Of course, it was not easy to enter here. Not only did one need to have a certain status, but they also needed to pay hundreds of thousands of membership fees every year. Fong Yin stood at the entrance of Junling Clubhouse. A handsome greeter in a black suit immediately came over and said respectfully, "Sir, how can I help you?" Fong Yin looked at him in surprise and said, "You don't look down on me?" Fong Yin had read a lot of novels. In the novels, when the hero dressed like a loser went to a more luxurious place, he would always encounter all kinds of contempt from the security guards or greeters at the door. Fong Yin was also dressed very ordinarily today. Why was this handsome greeter so polite to him? It was not scientific. The smile on the greeter's face stiffened, but he still tried to squeeze out a smile and said, "Sir, how could you have such a thought? Every guest who comes is a distinguished guest of Junling. We should give the most sincere and warm service. How could there be such a thing as looking down on me?" Puffed. A woman behind him couldn't help laughing. Li Junling, who was wearing a red dress and had her hair permed into small waves, walked over in silver stilettos. She looked at Fong Yin and said, "Sir, is this your first time coming to Junling?" Fong Yin stared at her warily and said, "Do you want to look down on me? I've read about it in books. It's not the security guards who look down on us. It's the unruly ladies in the club who look down on us." Li Junling was once again amused and giggled. She looked at Fong Yin with gentle and charming eyes and said, "Sir, you're really too funny. I'm not trying to make things difficult for you, and I don't look down on you at all. Moreover, I sincerely want to be friends with you." She took the initiative to extend her little hand to Fong Yin and said, "I'm Li Junling. May I know how to address you, sir?" Fong Yin didn't immediately hold her pair of spotlessly white and flawless small hands that were worth millions of gold. Rather, he carefully examined them, repeatedly praising them, saying, "White and tender skin, slender finger bones, each finger extremely rich in tensile strength, soft yet not lacking in strength. This is the world's rarely seen flux hand. It's just like the bowstring of an arrow. When it's pulled, it can make a clanging sound, and it's full of strength." Fong Yin raised his head to look at Li Junling and said with a smile, "No wonder you can become a piano expert. God has given you a pair of enviable hands." Li Junling looked at Fong Yin in astonishment and said, "Sir, you know this is a flux hand?" "I know a little." Fong Yin nodded. Li Junling's heart was in turmoil, and she asked excitedly, "Sir, are you also a person of the same profession?" Fong Yin waved his hand and said, "I only understand appreciation, but I don't understand music." Seeing that Li Junling still extended her hand, Fong Yin held her small hand and gently shook it. "Then, sir is?" "Teacher," Fong Yin said. "I used to be a teacher, but now I'm a security guard." The handsome receptionist next to them looked over with a face full of astonishment, and then quickly turned his line of sight back. He thought, "Do you think we're idiots?" Which security guard could make the piano goddess, Li Junling, tremble with just a few words? Which security guard has the courage to run to the entrance of Junling Club to pick up girls? Fong Yin noticed the expression on the handsome receptionist's face, patted his shoulder, and said, "Don't be suspicious. In fact, we are in the same profession. But your place of work is the club, and my place of work is the school." Li Junling pursed her lips and smiled tenderly. She was experienced and knowledgeable, so she simply didn't believe Fong Yin's nonsense. But looking at Fong Yin speaking such nonsense with a deadpan expression that no one would believe, it was quite interesting. Moreover, he actually knew about Fluxhand. Just based on this point, she should regard him as an honored guest of Junling Club. "Sir, don't joke around," the handsome receptionist said with an embarrassed face. Being teased by a man in front of his female boss, he really wasn't used to it. "I'm not joking," Fong Yin said. Li Junling looked at Fong Yin and said, "Sir, I have already introduced myself, but you still haven't told me your name. This is very ungentlemanly behavior." "Fong Yin said with a smile, Fong as in Fong, Yin as in two flames. "Even if I told you, you wouldn't have heard of it, so I thought that telling you my name would be meaningless. Every day, there's so many people introducing themselves to a beauty like you. So how could you remember such an insignificant person like me?" "Fong Yin? Lu Qi's close friend Fong Yin?" Li Junling stared at Fong Yin with wide eyes. "Lu Qi's close friend?" Fong Yin was surprised and said with a bitter smile, "What do you mean? Don't you know? The matter of Lu Qi especially going to Huaqing to see you is already spread throughout Yinjing. Many people say that you and Mr. Lu Qi say that you have a close relationship and that you might be lovers. His courtship failed, and in his grief, he left his work in the Blue Sky Club. I still want to go to the Blue Sky Club to see Mr. Lu Qi's masterpiece." This time, it was Fong Yan's turn to stare with wide eyes and said, "How can you casually slander someone's innocence?" "But Mr. Lu Qi has never denied it." "I'm saying that you're slandering my innocence," Fong Yin said angrily. "I'm someone with a girlfriend." Li Junling no longer knew how to describe her feelings. To borrow a phrase she had accidentally seen in an airplane magazine, it was 10,000 alpacas are galloping in her heart. The person he was rumored to be Lu Qi, one of the 7 fanatics of Huaxia. Although she was somewhat famous in the world of the piano and was even praised as the piano goddess of Huaxia, she knew very well that she was still several Li Boyongs inferior to Lu Qiyo. Li Boyong was her father. "I have to talk to Lu Yun," Fong Yin said. "If you're not prepared to give me a status, you can't casually use my reputation." An invisible posturing was the most fatal. Li Junling thought to herself that those Scions who often flaunted their luxury cars and mansions around her were nothing compared to Fong Yin. No matter how many sports cars and villas you have, do you have the ability to be friends with Lu Qi? If you have the ability, go and spread a rumor with Lu Qi. Li Junling looked at Fong Yin and asked with a smile, "Mr. Fong, are you here to meet a friend?" "Yes." Fong Yin nodded and said, "I have a friend inside. I'll take you in," Li Junling said with a smile. "Which friend do you want to see? Don't tell me that Mr. Lu Qi is inside. I'll be so excited that I was lucky enough to hear her play once and became her brainless fan on the spot." "It's the Arasima duo," Fong Yin said with a smile. "Oh, a beautiful girl duo. So you like this type?" Li Junling teased. The two of them have been especially popular in recent years. "No matter how popular they are still my students," Fong Yin said with a smile. Li Junling nodded and said, "I know. You have indeed been a teacher, and they are really your students. Xia Tian and I are good sisters. She has told me a lot of things." Fong Yin nodded and said, "The entertainment circle is only so big. It's understandable that you are familiar with each other." "Which box are they in?" "In Autumn Whispers," Fong Yin said. "What a strange name. This is a very famous piano song, and one of my favorite piano songs," Li Junling explained. "There are only 7 boxes in the Junling Club, and the name of each box is named after a world-famous song." For example, Croatian Rhapsody, For Alice, Starry Sky, and other songs. That's really creative, Fong Yin said with a smile. Li Junling's popularity was excellent. Everyone who saw her would take the initiative to say hello to her. Even some people who sat far away would wave at her from afar. Li Junling's attitude was amiable, and he responded gracefully without losing his distance. Under the guidance of Li Junling, Fong Yin soon came to the door of the Autumn Whispers box. Before Fong Yin had time to open the door of the box, Jiang Qin had already jumped up from the brown leather sofa, ran over and hugged Fong Yin's arm, and shouted, "Mr. Fong, you are finally here. Yuan Lin and I have been waiting for you for an hour." "There are still guests," Fong Yin said embarrassedly. Although they hadn't seen each other for a long time, Jiang Qin's attachment to him still hadn't changed. She saw that he was still throwing himself at her like a few years ago. Perhaps, in her heart, he would always be the young and handsome male teacher who liked to wear a white shirt. Seeing Li Junling standing behind Fong Yin, Jiang Qin's face suddenly turned red. She quickly let go of Fong Yan's arm and took the initiative to greet Li Junling, saying, "Sister Li, so you and Mr. Fong also know each other? I just met your Mr. Fong at the door," Li Junling said with a smile, still thinking about the scene she had just seen. Fong Yin said that he had a girlfriend. Could his girlfriend be Jiang Qin of the South Star Group? If that was the case, Fong Yin had already had a secret relationship with Jiang Qin when he was a teacher. Wasn't that a teacher-student relationship? This beast. Chapter 696. The cold wind was piercingly cold, and the glaciers stretched for thousands of miles. A puff of air, and that puff of air immediately condensed in a mist. A pea, and while you were still peeing, the upper half was steaming, and the lower half was already frozen. Can you imagine what it feels like to hold a popsicle with your little penis? The land of extreme cold truly lived up to its name. This was the coldest place that Mo Qingdi knew of. Mo Qingdi felt a little sad. He never thought that he would be the mistress of an animal. At this moment, he was lying on a soft mattress woven from the fur of a snow wolf, making afternoon tea and pastries with all kinds of rare and exotic treasures, and admiring the crystal-clear, inverted icicles hanging on the ceiling of the cave. It had to be said that Mo Qingdi's life at this moment was really good. Ever since he and his boyfriend, Ice Dragon, had argued countless times, Ice Dragon had finally realized that humans couldn't just eat one type of fruit. When they ate lava fruits, they also needed to eat other foods to change their taste. Thus, Mo Qingdi's 3 meals a day were lava fruits with baby ginseng, lava fruits with 9-petal snow lotus, lava fruits with red silk fish, and lava fruits with snow snake meat. Every meal was inseparable from lava fruits. However, there were other foods that could be changed, and Mo Qingdi himself was not a very picky man, so he was not dissatisfied with these 3 meals. Not only was he not picky, he was even grateful. Before he met Ice Dragon, he did not have such a standard of living. Treasures like baby ginseng and 9-petal snow lotus, he did not even think about or see them. Fortunately, there was Ice Dragon, and fortunately, there was this little transparent dog. Dragons were all rich, and every dragon had its own treasure vault. Even though Mo Qingdi had never been inside, he knew that this Ice Dragon was just as rich as the 4 seas. Otherwise, how could he continuously bring out so many precious ingredients from a cave? Other than a few things that Mo Qingdi often ate, there were also some new things that made one's eyes light up. The red silk bean, the white transparent volcano scorpion, all of these tasted pretty good, but they were very rare and could only be eaten occasionally. There were also some unsightly-looking things that Mo Qingdi found hard to swallow. After Mo Qingdi made a gesture to Ice Dragon to indicate that he was not blessed enough to enjoy those things, Ice Dragon did not hold back and swallowed them into his stomach with a curl of his tongue. Living a comfortable life with a gentle and considerate boyfriend, although his appearance was a bit weird. But was this the happiness she wanted? How is Fong Yin now? How is the Fong family now? Has Fong Yixing been avenged? Every day, Mo Qingdi would ponder these questions. Mo Qingdi still wanted to go back, even though he had once thought that this place of extreme coldness was very suitable for him to use as a burial ground. Go back to the flashes of swords, go back to the hatred of the country, go back to the laughter and tears, go back to Fangyan and see how the guy who he had treated and nurtured like his own son was doing now. Isn't it too hard for one person to bear the family name alone? If you really feel tired, then just abandon everything and live a carefree life. He wanted to go back and say those words to him. He wanted him to put down his burden and run towards a new life. But he was very clear that he would not be of much help to Fangyan if he went back with this broken body. Moreover, a lot of hatred was caused by him. If he went back, he would definitely attract the attention of those people. They would also follow him, and Fangyan's situation would be even more difficult, wouldn't it? He needed the ice dragon's blood. He needed the ice dragon's tendon. At least, that was what that wretched doctor told him. But how could he lay his hands on his savior, Ice Dragon? When it looked at him with a face full of resentment, it always made Mo Qingdi think of it as the image of Fangyan. No matter what, he could not bear to lay his hands on it. But Mo Qingdi did not give up just because of this. For example, he pricked up his ears and listened carefully to make sure that Ice Dragon was not in the cave. He quickly stuffed the half of the ginseng fruit in his hand into his mouth, got up, and walked towards the depths of the cave. It was not the first time that Mo Qingdi wanted to break into Ice Dragon's cave to see what was going on, but every time, he would be discovered by Ice Dragon. It stood in front of Mo Qingdi, its small eyes staring at him without blinking, as if it was saying to him, don't go in, okay? Every time he encountered such a situation, Mo Qingdi would smile apologetically at it, then turn around and go back. Ice Dragon acted as if nothing had happened, shaking its head as it followed behind him. When it was cold, it would bring him a piece of snow wolf skin. When it was hungry, it would bring him his favorite red lava fruit. What was an Ice Dragon's treasury? Was there a treasure that could heal his broken meridians? Mo Qingdi wanted to go and see, so he had to go and see. He knew that this was very impolite and very immoral. If there were storytellers in the Ice Dragon realm, they would probably have a story similar to Mr. Donghua and the Wolf. Once upon a time, there was a cute and kind Ice Dragon. His name was Mr. Donghua. One day, when he was out foraging for food, he suddenly encountered a volcanic eruption. As he ran for his life, he found a human who was also running for his life. In the end, that cruel and shameless human stole his treasure, leaving him penniless. After a period of recuperation, as well as the nourishment of all kinds of nutritious food every day, Mo Qingdi's body had recovered a lot, even stronger than when he first entered the land of extreme cold. When he was practicing martial arts in the morning, sometimes when he clenched his fist, he could even feel a faintly discernible flow of air in his body. Of course, when he wanted to carefully feel it, the flow of air would quickly disappear. He was sure that it was not an illusion. Perhaps it was the effect of those rare fruits. He had indeed recovered some of his strength. Some of the small meridians had already been opened, but the main artery was still broken. Air could not enter, like mud sinking into the sea, unable to make any waves. Mo Qingdi's movements were very fast. His feet lightly bounced on the ground, and his body had already scurried far away. His body was almost floating in the wind, a little like he was riding the wind. After spending so much time with that little transparent dog, even the way he walked was somewhat similar to it. Although Mo Qingdi had never successfully entered the Ice Dragon's treasure cave, he could roughly guess where it was located. Moreover, he had done countless calculations, and according to the Ice Dragon's usual speed and the time it took for it to enter the cave to retrieve the fruits, he could roughly estimate the distance. The cave was deep and narrow, and the deeper he went, the gloomier and colder it became. On both sides of the cave, as well as the ceiling, there were ice sculptures. Those icicles were of different sizes, long or short, thick or thin, in all kinds of strange shapes, presenting a magical state in this dim light. Mo Qingdi was a skilled and daring person, so he was not afraid of these shadows and ice sculptures. But he walked along this long and narrow passage for a long time, and still did not find the existence of any cave. Could it be that the ice dragon's intelligence was so high that it could set up a password or a secret door as a smokescreen? Mo Chingdi's hand touched the cold stone wall, and the icy touch spread throughout his body, but there was nothing he wanted. His hand stroked the stone wall all the way, some smooth, some protruding, but still could not find any cave that could be used to hide the treasure. Where is it? Mo Chingdi's eyes swept across the cave. He looked everywhere, and felt that everything was strange, but none of them was the place he was looking for. After walking for another 10 meters, a dark cold pond appeared. The pond water was silent and completely dark. At first glance, it looked like a deep black hole, and there was no way to see what was inside. Mo Chingdi walked to the side of the pond, and before he even got close, a bone-chilling cold spread from the bottom of his heart. It was as if there was a prehistoric giant beast hiding in the cold water and could swallow the intruder at any time. Mo Chingdi stared at the pond water, and after a long time, he suddenly threw himself into the cold pond. Splash water splashed everywhere. The moment Mo Chingdi fell into the water, it was as if someone had cast a freezing spell on his body. The muscles of his body contracted violently, and even his heart stopped beating. Cold. A cold that he had never experienced before. This kind of cold was beyond the limits of human endurance. The gentle and pervasive water was like a sharp knife, incessantly cutting into Mo Chingdi's body. It cut his face, his nose, his eyes, his arms and thighs, and every inch of his body. The icy, cold water gushed into his body through his pores. Even the hairs on his body had turned into fine silver needles, stimulating every acupoint in his body with the needles. Because of the self-defense mechanism of his body, when Mo Chingdi fell into the water and was attacked by the cold, his body naturally curled into a ball like a fried prawn in a pan of oil. When Mo Chingdi's brain gradually regained consciousness, when he was able to think, when he wanted to reach out and swim deeper into the cold pond, he found that his hands could not move and his feet could not straighten. It was as if his whole body was frozen. He was like a zombie, immersed in the bone-chilling cold water, sinking all the way into the endless darkness. Chapter 697. Mo Chingdi did not know how long he had sunk. In his heart, it seemed as long as a century. The deeper he sank, the darker it became. This cold lake was unfathomable, almost making people wonder if he had crossed into another time and space. Perhaps the ice dragon was a freak from Jurassic World, and he had followed its footsteps into the dinosaur paradise. And every day, he had to avoid the pursuit of various dragons and watch them kill each other. This kind of life really made people feel a little tired. Unable to speak, unable to move his hands and feet, surrounded by bone-chilling frozen water, every part of his body was undergoing this kind of continuous torture. It was really strange. Water at this temperature should have long been frozen. Why was there no ice floating on the surface of this lake? Weak water is not ice. Could this be the legendary weak water that will never freeze? Just as Mo Chingdi was thinking, suddenly there was a glimmer of light in front of him. In this dark and gloomy lake bottom, there was suddenly such a glimmer of light in front of him, like a drowning person grabbing a piece of wood or a starving person begging for a bun. Whoosh! Mo Chingdi's body followed the undercurrent at the bottom of the lake towards the light, and then, with a bang, he fell into a pool. Splash! Mo Chingdi's body fell into the pool, and then his head quickly floated up again. Only then did his bound hands and feet regain their freedom. Mo Chingdi had arrived in another world, but it was not the Jurassic Park that he had imagined. But after sinking to the bottom of the lake, following the undercurrent below, he entered a more open cave. A huge cave the size of a basketball court. At this moment, Mo Chingdi was situated in a large pond. The pond was connected to the bottom of the frigid pond, and the spring in the frigid pond was constantly pouring water into the black pond. The water from the black pond was constantly flowing into the pond. This is the ice dragon's treasure vault? Mo Chingdi thought. Strangely shaped stones, huge icicles hanging upside down over his head, rushing water, and a world of ice and snow. It has to be said that there was really nothing to see in this extremely cold place. Other than ice and snow, there was only ice and snow, and cold wind and cold wind. If you accidentally see any bright colors, it is definitely a very rare lucky day of the year. Mo-Ching-Di climbed out of the ice pool and then began to search the huge cave. He had a feeling he knew he was in the right place. Of course, the previous sentence was nonsense. This sentence was true as well. Although the cave was big, Mo-Ching-Di's eyesight was better than others. Finding some things was not a difficult task for him. Soon, he found a vegetable garden in the northeast corner of the cave. It was a large patch of red, yellow, green, and purple, almost dazzling his eyes. Seeing that vegetable garden, even someone as knowledgeable as Mo-Ching-Di was momentarily stunned. It had to be said that in a place where even birds wouldn't poop, having such a vegetable garden was equivalent to Ma Yun having Taobao, Ma Huading having penguin, and Wang Xikong having Wang Jianlin in the human world. The ice dragon that Mo-Ching-Di knew was really a local tyrant dog in this land of extreme coldness. Baby ginseng grew the most. They grew irregularly all over the hillside, making it look like a radish field. There were also some 9-petal snow lotuses, very few in number, with a large blank space in the middle. Those blank spaces should have been snow lotuses, but because Mo-Ching-Di liked to eat them, they were all plucked by Ice Dragon. There was also the mountain of snow wolf meat. Last time when the pack of snow wolves came to provoke the Ice Dragon, that little transparent dog suddenly showed its power and annihilated the entire pack of snow wolves right in front of Mo-Ching-Di's eyes. Mo-Ching-Di's hands and feet turned cold when he saw that. If this dog suddenly wanted to change its lifestyle or change its taste by tasting human flesh, wouldn't he be dead for sure? Big red silk fish, big snow snakes, and a variety of fruits that Mo-Ching-Di had either eaten or never eaten before. Mo-Ching-Di felt an inexplicable sadness in his heart, thinking that it was no wonder that before he met Ice Dragon, he could not find any edible creatures in the ice field. Even those mutated rats could only be eaten in half at a time, and the other half would be frozen for the next meal. Now he knew that all the edible creatures in the ice field had been collected by Ice Dragon into his own treasure vault. It was said that dragons loved to collect things, and it seemed that the saying was true. Mo-Ching-Di naturally did not come here to look for food. Whatever he wanted to eat, Ice Dragon would not hesitate to send it to him. He had confidence in this. Ice Dragon was a very considerate dog. He walked in another direction and stopped at the entrance of a small cave. The reason why he stopped at the small cave was that he was attracted by the golden light inside. Diamonds, a lot of diamonds. White diamonds, red diamonds, yellow diamonds, green diamonds, blue diamonds, brown diamonds that were close to the color of stone, and some strange stones that were unknown but shining brightly. The dragon race liked sparkling things. They liked gold or diamonds. They liked anything that could shine. Although Mo-Ching-Di had always regarded Ice Dragon as an invisible little dog, he was still a side branch of the dragon race. He had many or all of the characteristics of the dragon race. Greed, lust. Of course, lust referred to his love of color. As for whether he was attracted to men or women, Mo-Ching-Di had not yet found out. Based on Mo-Ching-Di's mathematical skills, he made a preliminary calculation in his mind. If he brought all these diamonds back to Yanjing, he would definitely be able to sell them for an astronomical figure. As for how much that astronomical figure would be, he had no idea. Mo-Ching-Di stood at the entrance of the cave for a few seconds, then turned and left. Looking at the pile of stones, he was not as surprised as he was when he saw the vegetable field. Presumably, Fang Yin would like these stones more. Then, Mo-Ching-Di continued to walk along the small path. In the most secluded northwest corner, he found a cave blocked with stones. Because the stones blocking the door were not big, there were many gaps in the middle. Through these gaps, he could see light coming from inside the cave. Mo-Ching-Di peered through the gaps, but he saw nothing but light. This made Mo-Ching-Di feel very strange. The precious vegetable field and glittering stones were not sealed with stones. So why was this cave blocked with stones? Could it be that there were more precious treasures inside than the vegetable field and the diamonds? Without any hesitation, Immerse quickly removed the big stones blocking the entrance. When he stood in the middle of the cave and looked at the huge ice sculptures on both sides of the cave, he felt an indescribable sense of shock. Ice dragons. Huge ice dragons. These ice dragons were big and small. The big ones were as big as a yacht, and the small ones were as small as a fishing boat. They stood on both sides of the stone wall, frozen by ice and snow, eternally accompanying the sun, moon, and stars. 1, 2, 3, 4. The entire family of the ice dragons was buried here, right? Although these ice dragons have been dead for a long time, because of the ice and snow, they still looked lifelike. The huge ice dragons stood there with their chests puffed out, just like the proud look of the transparent little dog in front of Immerse, except that these ice dragons were more domineering and intimidating. Immerse had never had a clear concept of ice dragons. He thought that ice dragons were the transparent little dog that he knew now. They were like this when they were young, and they would still be like this when they grew up. Of course, because of the language barrier, he could not ask the transparent little dog if it was 3 years old, 13 years old, or 30 years old. He didn't expect that the little transparent dog that looked so weak to be so huge. It looked like a mutated monster. It was a dragon, a species that had the potential to grow into the shape of a dragon. There really are dragons in this world? Immerse stood there with a dull face, unable to believe the reality before his eyes. But they stood there, and as long as he took a few steps forward, he could reach out and touch their skin, their strong bodies, and their tall thighs that were almost as tall as a man. They were taller and more powerful than the biggest bear. They were the predators of this world. Fortunately, they lived in this land of extreme cold and not the human world. Fortunately, they were rare and could not reproduce in large numbers. Otherwise, it would be a disaster for the human world. Immerse's heart was beating wildly, and he could not stop swallowing his saliva. He took a few steps forward, walked in front of the largest and strongest ice dragon, and reached out to touch its body. Its body was still well preserved, its skin was transparent, and the meridians inside were vaguely visible. He did not know if there was still blood inside, but there should be. Because the temperature here was too low, it was possible that the moment the ice dragon died, the ice and snow immediately froze its entire body along with the blood inside. Is this the miracle I have been waiting for? Immerse's hand that was touching the ice dragon's body was trembling slightly. He could not do anything to the small ice dragon, but the tendons and blood of these ice dragons were still intact. Oh, a shrill cry was heard. The transparent little dog stood at the entrance of the cave with a ferocious look on its face. Its legs were stretched forward, ready to pounce and bite. For Immerse's behavior had touched its reverse scale, even though it did not have a single scale on its body. Chapter 698. It was not easy to coax a beautiful woman to bed. Just as he was about to make love to her, her husband came in. Immerse's mood was exactly the same as that of a failed rapist. He needed the tendons of the ice dragon to reconnect his meridians, and he needed the blood of the ice dragon to forge his body. This was the reason why he traveled thousands of miles to this land of extreme cold. He could not lay his hands on his savior, the little ice dragon, so he could not recover, and he could not go back to Huaxia, to the Fong clan, and to Fong Yan's side. By chance, or it could be said that under Immerse's meticulous search, he finally found an opportunity to jump into the cold pond when the little ice dragon was out looking for food and was then washed by the undercurrent to this huge treasure cave. He discovered the incomparably precious vegetable garden. He discovered the inexhaustible diamond vault, and he also discovered the ice dragon's graveyard, the place where the ice dragons hid their corpses. The ice dragon was an extremely rare and unfamiliar species. Even the ancient medical book, Records of Strange Things, only had a few words about it. Mo Qingdi was guided by the medical fanatic to search for the ice dragon, and he had the thought of dying in vain. However, he did not expect his luck to be so heaven-defying. He actually found the legendary ice dragon, and even found many ice dragons. Mo Qingdi wanted to hug the legs of the ice dragon and cry. His illness could finally be cured. He could not lay his hands on the little ice dragon, so he would put down a big one. He would pull out its tendons, drink its blood, and then quickly leave this land of extreme cold. After doing such a thing, he no longer had the face to face the cute, resentful expression of the little transparent dog. Unexpectedly, before he could do such a thing, the little ice dragon had already rushed over, blocking the entrance of the tomb and howling at him. This was the first time the ice dragon had treated him with such a violent attitude. Even when they first met and were still strangers, it did not act like this. Roar! The ice dragon roared, and the sound lasted for a long time. The last time they were besieged by the pack of snow wolves, the ice dragon had also roared like this. But at that time, its roar was full of power and fighting spirit. It was like a battle cry before a battle, but also a declaration of victory. This time it was different. Its voice was even sharper and more majestic, but there was no power in its voice. There was only grief and indignation, no fighting spirit, only endless killing intent. Ice Dragon was angry. Dragons had reversed scales, and those who touched them would die. For the Ice Dragon bloodline, protecting the bodies and graves of their fathers and ancestors was their greatest responsibility. No matter who it was, anyone who dared to trespass would be torn apart by the sharp teeth and claws of the Ice Dragon. What Ice Dragon did not expect was that the person who barged in this time was Mo Qingdi. The Ice Dragon did not understand the human language, but in its heart, it treated him as a companion. It was the same kind of dragon as him. It would not hurt him, nor would it discriminate against him. If there was good food, it would feed him. If there was something good to drink, it would let him drink. If there was danger, it would rush to the front. The Ice Dragon was lonely because he lacked his own kind. Therefore, the lonely Ice Dragon recognized Mo Qingdi as one of his kind. But how could he do this? How could he hurt himself like this? Oh, Ice Dragon's eyes turned crimson. His dragon heart was in great pain. It was as if his heart was being cut by a knife. Ice Dragon stretched his front legs forward and his back legs back. His body was arched, like a sharp arrow that could be shot at any time. This was the posture of the Ice Dragon when he was about to attack. Ice Dragon was about to attack. Mo Qingdi felt a little melancholy. He had thought of such an outcome, but in his heart, he did not want it to happen. Mo Qingdi knew that the Ice Dragon did not understand the human language, but he could not help but want to say something. Because if he did not say something, his heart would be very uncomfortable. Talking to an animal was such a stupid thing to do, but no one could see it anyway. I know you're very sad. This is my fault. Mo Qingdi was like a father who had done something wrong, apologizing to his wrong child. I have never told you that I came to this land of extreme cold to find you. A doctor told me that eating the Ice Dragon's tendon and drinking the Ice Dragon's blood could repair my damaged meridians. I did not believe it at that time, but I still wanted to come and try. When I was young, I did not have a family. I was all alone. It was a very dignified man who brought me home. He asked me what my surname was. I said my surname was Mo Xiaolang. He said it was not a good name. Xiaolang, it sounded like a simple name for a cat or dog. The most important thing in Jianghu is to have a good reputation. He said my name was not domineering enough. He thought about it and said he wanted to change my name to Mo Qingdi. I like this name very much. I asked him what his surname was, and he said his surname was Fong Hui. I said I could also have the surname Fong. From now on, I will be your disciple. My life belongs to the Fong family. He refused. He said that we are all born and raised by our parents. How can we easily pull other people's children into our own family? If you want, you can stay with the Fong family for the rest of your life. If you don't want, you can roll up your bedding and leave. But let me know when you leave. That way I won't curse. I will stay with the Fong family. I will become a part of the Fong family. Roar! The Ice Dragon's roar became deeper, and the vibration frequency of its chest became much lower. Its blood-red eyes looked at Mo Qingdi in confusion. It did not know what this man was saying to it. Was it apologizing? Saying sorry? My surname is not Fong, but I have never felt that I am not a member of the Fong family. Fong Huwei is my master and also my father. Fong Yixing is my senior and also my elder brother. Fong Yin is my junior and also my child. In those years, the Fong family had some good days. Especially after I succeeded in climbing the heavenly Tao, the Fong family was in the limelight. I was very proud that I could bring glory to the Fong family. That is what I have been working hard to achieve. But too many things happened later. At this point, Mo Qingdi's voice became a little gloomy. My meridians were cut. Fong Yan's heart of Tai Chi suddenly became stillborn, and Fong Yixing was killed in front of his house. That night, I rushed out with my spear, but when I was halfway there, I saw Fong Yin carrying his father's corpse back. I glanced at Fong Yin, then turned around and left. I locked myself in the courtyard drinking. That time, I drank for 3 days and 3 nights, and then slept for 4 days. I woke up a week later because I had no choice but to wake up. That was the 7th day of Yixing's death. According to the rules of Swallow Dock, it was a very important day. Later on, Fong Yin guarded the tomb, just like you are now. He was quiet, ate, and slept less. I secretly went to visit him. He had nightmares every night and woke up from them countless times. I know that his heart was filled with guilt and self-blame. He regretted not being able to protect his father and regretted not being able to save his father. Actually, I feel the same way as him. No, I feel even more guilty and remorseful than him. He is just a child. Everyone can forgive him for not being able to do these things. However, I am the disciple of the old master. I am Yixing's brother, and I am the same age as him. I should bear the responsibility of protecting the family, but I did not do it. This is hard to forgive. I could not save his son, and he must be very disappointed in me, right? Huaxia, Azure Dragon, don't underestimate me. Come to think of it, we have some history. You are an ice dragon, and I am an azure dragon, but I am also a useless dragon. I know that there are countless people who are laughing at me. There are countless people who are pointing fingers at my back. They are betting that I will never be able to stand up. They are mocking me for not being able to protect the Fong clan and my brothers. At that time, I thought that even if I could not go back alive, I would die outside. I could not let the Fong family suffer more humiliation because of my existence. So, I came to this extremely cold place, and I met you. I looked for you for a very long time, and when I found you, I was already in despair. The volcano erupted, and I thought I was going to be drowned by the lava and buried by the glacier. Who would have thought that I would be saved by you? Mo Qingdi looked straight into Ice Dragon's eyes, and with a bitter smile, he said, "We humans have a saying, a drop of water must be returned with a spring of water. You saved my life, and I should give my life to you. But I can't do that. I have to go back, and I have to go back healthy. So, I found this place, and I also want to extract some dragon tendons from your ancestor and use some dragon blood. I am a villain." Mo Qingdi looked at Ice Dragon and said, "I am a despicable and shameless villain. I apologize to you, and I admit my mistake honestly." Mo Qingdi turned to look at the frozen corpses of the ice dragons and said, "But I have to be honest with you. I still want them. I really need their help." Roar! Seeing where Mo Qingdi was looking, Ice Dragon roared again. Its voice grew louder, and it was deafening like thunder in a cave. Crack, crack! The icicles above began to fall, and the ice on the walls began to crack. Humans are really shameless. Mo Qingdi said, "Don't ever think of trusting humans again. If you see someone like me, just open your mouth and eat him." Roar! Ice Dragon's hind claws kicked wildly on the ground, and ice shards flew in all directions. I've never said these words to anyone, not to the old man, not to my wife, and not to Fong Yan. Now that I've said them to you, I feel much better. I've said what I want to say, and now it's your turn. Mo Qingdi looked at Ice Dragon and said, "Roar! ice dragon roared, and its body left the ground. It opened its mouth and pounced towards Immo Ching-di. Chapter 699. So Big Sister Junling and Teacher Fong have only just met? I thought you guys knew each other a long time ago. Hearing Li Junling say that he and Fong Yin met at the entrance of the club, Jiang Qin's heart suddenly became a lot happier. She said with a smile, Sister Junling, I like the private room of Autumn Whispers the most. Every time I come here, I will choose this room. Sometimes I will also go to Starry Sky, but I prefer the name of Autumn Whispers. It sounded like he was whispering to someone on a beautiful autumn day. It gave off a very relaxed and limited feeling. Sister Junling, you are really amazing to be able to think of such a good idea. Li Junling smiled brightly, looked at Jiang Qin and said, If you like it, you can come over often. But you two are too popular now. I'm afraid you won't have too much private time, right? I can always find time. Yuan Lin's long hair was cut short, and her original oval face had become a lot thinner. She didn't look as round as before, but she was more cool and handsome than before. Nowadays, girls like to go on a diet, and as a star, Yuan Lin naturally paid more attention to her personal image. As long as Sister Xiatian doesn't arrange such a full schedule for us. How can Xiatian be willing to arrange such a full schedule for you? As far as I know, she has blocked countless schedule announcements for you, and some endorsement contracts that don't match your image, no matter how high the other party offered, were rejected by her. I even joked with her before, saying that even raising 2 daughters is not as attentive as she is to you. She also said that I don't understand, always secretive, and don't know what you're going to do. Li Junling and Xiatian were best friends, so she naturally knew some things about the Arasima group. In her opinion, she had never seen a boss who treated the company's employees better than Xiatian. Which boss would cook or make food or pastries for the staff every Saturday and Sunday? At least, Li Junling thought that she couldn't do it. However, she also clearly knew that Xiatian regarded Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin as her younger sisters, which was also the reason why she was so enthusiastic to the two of them. Sister Xia is good to us, and Sister Junling is also good to us, Jiang Qin said with a smile. After being in the entertainment industry for a long time, some of the way people handled things had obviously changed a lot. She hugged Li Junling's arm and said, Sister Li Junling, I've ordered the nobles here. Would you like to sit down and drink with me? I still have things to do. I'll come over and have a drink with you guys later, Li Junling said with a smile. She looked at Fong Yin and said, Mr. Fong, enjoy yourself. If you need anything, just let me know. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work. Fong Yin thanked them sincerely with a smile. He had a good impression of this girl. Just her demeanor and temperament were enough to make people fall in love with her. Moreover, Fong Yin could see that she was interested in befriending an arrogant woman. If she suddenly put down her pride and became friends with you, you would feel a sense of respect in your heart. Li Junling waved his hand at them, then turned and left. After Li Junling left, Jiang Qin was too embarrassed to come forward and hug Fong Yin's arm again. She looked at Fong Yin and said with a face full of joy, Mr. Fong, your mental state this time is much better than before. When Fong Yin was in mourning for his father, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin would come to visit whenever they were not busy. At that time, Fong Yin was like a walking corpse. In terms of mental state, it was indeed much worse than it was now. Yuan Lin poked Jiang Qin's waist, indicating that she should not say these things that might evoke Fong Yin's sorrow. Fong Yin smiled and waved his hand. You two don't have to do those little things down there. I saw it all, Yuan Lin. It's okay, it's all over. Jiang Qin was a little nervous at first. She was worried that she would say something wrong and make Fong Yin sad. Seeing that Fong Yin spoke casually and his posture was free and easy, which was really different from before, she said with a smile, Mr. Fong, are you really okay? What can happen? Fong Yin shook his head. What has happened? No matter how sad I am, I can't make it go back. At that time, I mainly wanted to accompany him more and also let myself calm down and think about some things. Some things have been figured out, and some people have been found. The things that were originally blocked in my heart have been cleared up a lot. Now I really have nothing, so you don't have to be so careful for fear of provoking me." Jiangqi nodded and said happily, "Mr. Fong, it's great that you can recover to the same state as before. You don't know how afraid you used to be. Yuan Lin and I always wanted to see you, but every time we came to see you, we didn't know what to say to you. We were afraid that if we accidentally said the wrong thing, it would make your heart more sad. Mr. Fong has become our former Mr. Fong again," Yuan Lin said with a smile. As soon as he returned to his original form, he began to pick up girls. "Mr. Fong, tell us quickly, what is your relationship with Sister Junling?" "Yes, Mr. Fong, tell us quickly, what is your relationship with Sister Junling?" "Sister Junling is usually so arrogant, and she is not a person who is easy to get along with. How did you know each other? And she even personally sent you to the private room. It seems that your relationship is very good." Jiang Qin's face was full of curiosity, staring at Fong Yin like a curious baby. "I met her at the door," Fong Yin explained. "I was looking for someone to ask for directions, and she happened to appear, and then she brought me here." "Impossible." Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin shook their heads at the same time. The eyes that looked at Fong Yin were full of doubt and exploration. Fong Yin touched his nose and smiled bitterly, saying, "Do you not believe me, or do you not believe your sister Junling?" "Neither." Jiang Qin shook his head and said, "It's too simple, too easy. How can you know each other so easily? You don't know how many people in Yinjing City want to know the piano goddess, Junling? There is no chance at all." Yuan Lin added another stab. Fong Yin shrugged his shoulders and said, "I can't help it if you don't believe me. You two little girls invited me here. It can't be just to ask me what's the relationship between me and Li Junling, right?" "Of course not," Jiang Qin said with a face full of smiles. "We heard that Mr. Fong returned to Yinjing, so we hurriedly invited you out to meet him. Since she knew that you were in Yinjing last night, Kiss seemed to have lost her soul. She took out her phone several times and wanted to call you, but she was afraid of disturbing your work. In the end, I snatched her phone and called you. After you agreed to come out and meet us, Kiss started to be anxious again. Is it better to wear a dress or casual clothes today? Is casual clothes too casual? Is a dress too sexy? She woke up with dark circles under her eyes today. She is bewitched." Yuan Lin. Jiang Qin covered Yuan Lin's mouth to stop her from saying any more. Yuan Lin dodged, and the two girls played on the sofa again. Fong Yin sat down on the sofa on the other side. He took their chilled red wine from the ice bucket, poured a glass for himself, and sipped it. No matter how the world changed, the relationship between Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin did not change at all. This made Fong Yin particularly happy for them. The two girls were finally tired of playing. They lay on the sofa and looked at Fong Yin sitting across from them without any image. "Mr. Fong, you have changed a lot," Jiang Qin said. "I have become quiet. I have become mature." Yuan Lin's eyes swept over Fong Yan's face and said, "There's a kind of silent majesty that can give people a sense of security." Fong Yin smiled bitterly and said, "I was quiet for a while, and you can interpret so many things." "Of course," Jiang Qin said proudly. "Who asked us to be your students? Who asked us to know you so well?" Fong Yin raised the glass in his hand and said, "Cheers to long time no see." "To long time no see." Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin raised their glasses at the same time and touched Fong Yan's glass. Everyone raised their heads and drank the wine in the glass together. At this moment, a waiter in a black uniform came over with a tray. Jiang Qin looked at the red wine on the waiter's tray and asked, "Are you mistaken? We only ordered a bottle of Marquis, and you have delivered it. There could be no mistake." The waiter placed the tray on the coffee table in front of Fong Yin and said, "Our president said that she has collected 2 bottles of good wine and would like to invite the 3 of you to have a taste. Sister Junling's private collection." Yuan Lin took the red wine and looked at it. She was speechless and said, "It's actually flame snake. This is a product of the Rothschild family's mysterious manor. It is mainly for their own family use, and a small amount will be sold to the market. Such a good wine. Even Sister Junling doesn't have a lot, right? How could she be willing to give away 2 bottles at once? After asking this question, the 2 girls stared at Fong Yin again. Their gazes seemed to be saying, "Teacher Fong, you'd better tell us the truth." Fong Yin pretended not to see it. He lowered his head to admire the red wine bottle and said, "Since it has been delivered, let's have a good taste." He looked at the waiter standing next to him and said, "Help us open it." "Yes, sir," the waiter said respectfully. The venue quieted down, and the sweet sound of the piano was like a clear spring flowing from afar, ringing in everyone's ears. Sister Junling is playing. Jiang Qin listened attentively for a while and said with a gentle voice, Chapter 700. It was like a lover whispering in the ear or a mother softly singing a lullaby. Every sound was clear, but also seemed to be infinitely far away, roaming the horizon, boundless and boundless. It was light, soothing, and made people drowsy. Yes, there were many people present who were addicted to this music. Their eyes were half closed, and their eyelids were so heavy that it was difficult to keep them open. There were also some people who closed their eyes and leaned on the soft sofa to take a nap while listening to the music. In such a bustling city, to be able to have a comfortable sleep without worries was also an infinitely beautiful thing in life. What Li Junling's Junwei Club household was not only character, service, network resources, personal space, but also to lighten the burden. Listening to a little song could remove most of your worries. At least for a while, you could completely relax. In this way, what else could you ask for? In the sound of the piano, a group of young men and women with extraordinary taste came to the entrance of Junling Clubhouse. The leader was a young man wearing black-rimmed glasses. His facial features were as handsome as a sculpture, and his eyes were as deep as the starry sky. There was a charming smile on his face. Any woman who saw him would easily have a good impression of him, and then get lost in his gentle trap. When a man walked to the entrance of Junwei Clubhouse, he suddenly stopped. The people in front stopped, and the people behind also stopped at the same time. "Young Master Qin, what happened?" A beautiful woman wearing a small black suspender asked aloud. She seemed to have a good impression of this young Master Qin. When she spoke, her smile was bright, and she deliberately showed the charming little dimples on both sides of her cheeks. When she bowed slightly, the front of the small suspender would shrug down. As long as the man slightly lowered his head, he could see the snow-white and tender little white rabbits in his eyes. "Shoo!" The man made a shushing gesture and said aloud, "Junling is playing the piano." When the girl heard this, she still had a smile on her face, but there was a flash of anger in her eyes. When the others heard this, they immediately understood and laughed. "So, it's sister-in-law playing the piano." Everyone listened carefully. A man wearing a Versace fishnet suit said with a smile, "Luo Xiaodao, with your junior high school education level, can you understand our sister-in-law's zither?" A man with long hair said with a smile, "Stop arguing. Can't you see that our young master accent is already listening attentively?" Everyone quieted down and listened to the melodious sound of the piano coming from the club seriously or pretentiously. The handsome greeter at the entrance of the club wanted to invite these VIPs in, but seeing that they were listening carefully at the door, he had to give up the idea. At the end of the song, the handsome young man took the lead in applauding and walked toward Jun Xiwen's office. The young people behind him also applauded. Their applause blended with the applause inside the venue, and the atmosphere became more and more enthusiastic. Next to the $1 million Steinway ruby and ebony piano, Li Junling stood up and bowed deeply to the guests present. When she looked up, she happened to meet the eyes of the young man who was standing in front of her and applauding enthusiastically. "Junling, you played so well. Deep feelings can be seen in a calm place, and thunder can be seen in a silent place. Your zither skills are getting better and better." Qin Chong said with a smile, "When I was standing at the door just now, I didn't dare to approach for fear of disturbing your music. It was not until the end of the song that I dared to come and say hello to you." Li Junling smiled lightly and said, "Thank you, young master." You are a distinguished guest of my Junling Club. You could just come in and listen to the music. Why do you need to stand at the door? People who don't know will think that I shut you out. If that's the case, I'll have committed a grave sin." Qin Chong raised his eyebrows slightly and said, "Junling, it's okay for others to call me young master, but you also call me young master. We are about to become a family. Do you need to be so distant?" Li Junling looked up at him and said, "I think it's good." The smile on Qin Chong's face froze for a moment, and then returned to normal. She said with a smile, "It's rare for me to come here. How about having a drink together? I also have a few words to say to you." Li Junling refused and said, "Young master, it's really inconvenient today. I happen to have friends coming over. I just had someone send 2 bottles of wine over. Now I have to go and entertain them." "Oh, Junling's friends? Junling's friends are also my friends?" Qin Chong said with a smile. "Let's go together. I can also go and say hello to your friends. Otherwise, they will blame me for being too rude." "Young master." Li Junling was still thinking about what reason to refuse. "What? Junling thinks that I can't be seen?" Qin Chong said with a smile. "This will hurt me too much." Li Junling knew that Qin Chong was determined to go with him, so he nodded and said, "Then let's go together." When Li Junling brought Qin Chong to the Autumn Whisper Box, Fang Yin was competing with Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, the 2 girls, in drinking. The 2 bottles of Flame Snake had been almost finished by them. His alcohol tolerance was pretty good, and Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin's alcohol tolerance had also greatly increased. When he first met them, they were still underage junior high school students. They were as pure as a little white flower. They blushed when they talked to boys. Of course, this referred to Yuan Lin. The first meeting between Fang Yin and Jiang Qin was full of legends. Until now, Fang Yin still clearly remembered that when he woke up, he happened to bump into the head of the girl who sneaked in. The girl was hot-tempered. She pointed at Fang Yin and scolded, "You dare to touch the butcher's daughter. Do you believe that my father will chop you to death?" The butcher didn't chop Fang Yin to death, but the butcher's daughter and Fang Yin became very good friends. "You 2 are good at drinking." Fang Yin smiled and said, "It seems that the entertainment circle is really a big dive at." Jiang Qin was a little nervous and quickly explained, "Mr. Fang, we don't usually drink outside. If there's a wine party that needs us to attend, Sister Xia will help us push it off. Sister Xia has a very strong background. Those people can't afford to offend her, and they don't dare to force us. We learned our drinking capacity from Sister Xia. When Sister Xia has nothing to do, she likes to cook a table of dishes for me and Yuan Lin to accompany her to drink." Yuan Lin nodded. She knew that the outside world didn't have a good evaluation of the entertainment circle. She didn't want Fang Yin to think of them as girls who didn't know how to be good for themselves. She said, Yes. We won't accompany those bad men to drink. We will only accompany Sister Xia and Mr. Fang to drink." Fang Yin looked at Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin seriously and said, "I know. I believe in you. You were my good students before, and you will be my good students in the future. Also, no matter what happens, you can tell Xia Tian and me. No one can force you to do something you don't want to do, unless you do it yourself. I know you won't do it." Jiang Qin looked at Fang Yin with red eyes and said, "Mr. Fang, don't worry. We won't do those things that don't know how to love ourselves, and no one can force us to do those things." Yuan Lin said with a straight face, "No one can bully us. We are very powerful now." Fang Yin smiled and wanted to reach out to touch Jiang Qin's head. He raised his hand in the air and withdrew it in embarrassment. This habit was formed in the past. At that time, the 2 of them were still junior high school girls. At the age of 13 or 14, they were as tender as a little red flower that had just bloomed. When they met again, they had been in the entertainment circle for many years. Their knowledge and experience were different from before, and their age and figure had also changed greatly. The small steam buns from before had now become big steam buns. Jiang Qin was thin, and the development of her chest was not so obvious. Yuan Lin's body was round, and her chest was quite developed. Now they could no longer be treated as children. Noticing Fang Yan's action, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin also looked embarrassed. They held the wine glasses in their hands and took small sips, no longer saying anything. In such an atmosphere, Li Junling brought a group of people over with a vigorous and spectacular feeling. "I didn't disturb you, did I?" Li Junling stood at the door of the private room and looked at Fang Yin with a smile on his face. "No," Fang Yin said with a smile. Looking at the many young men and women behind Li Junling, he asked, "Who are these?" "Let me introduce you," Li Junling said. "I'm Qin Chong." Qin Chong took the initiative to extend his hand to Fang Yin, looked at Li Junling apologetically, and said, "The reason why I interrupted Junling's introduction is because I know that he will definitely not introduce my real status, and I really want the outside world to know and recognize that layer of my identity." Fang Yin reached out and shook hands with Qin Chong. When he saw this man, his first impression was that he did not dislike him, and he was very curious about what kind of relationship Qin Chong had. Could he be the son of a big shot? In a place like Yanjing City, it was not surprising to meet 3 to 5 members of a ministerial family for a meal. Qin Chong looked at Li Junling tenderly and said, "I'm Junling's fiancé. If there are no accidents, we should get married next year." You see, when a man meets a woman he likes, he can't help but show off in front of others. So, sometimes, you really can't blame women for being too vain. Men also love to be vain. "Master, master, master," Fang Yin praised in his heart. "This is a master at picking up girls." Chapter 701. There is a kind of man who can make women like him and not be hated by men. I'm not talking about Fang Yin. Fang Yin had a lot of friends, but his enemies could line up from Yanjing's General Road to Jingjin's Second Road. He was elegant, witty, and truly considerate of others. Every sentence was to express his love for his fiancée. Qin Chong was indeed the kind of charismatic person who had the ability to kill both men and women. After saying this, the girls behind him looked at him with intoxicated eyes, and even Li Junling's face showed a touch of shyness. In any case, being praised by an outstanding man was an irresistible temptation for any woman. Fang Yin held Qin Chong's hand and said with a smile, "You must be a man who is very popular with girls. I won't belittle myself on this point." Qin Chong nodded and said, "But I still hope to be liked by the woman I like. You also know that it is very easy for a man to like a woman, but it is very difficult for a man to like a woman." After Fang Yin understood the subtle difference between the words like and like, he nodded approvingly and said, "There are 3,000 waters, but I only take 1 ladle to drink. It seems that we are the same kind of people." Qin Chong shook Fang Yan's hand slightly and said, "Just now, Junling didn't have time to introduce you. May I know your surname?" "Surname is not expensive," Fang Yin said. "Surname is Fang. Fang means square. Fang Yin. Yin is the flame of 2 fires. Fang Yin." Qin Chong's face slightly stiffened. Even he, who was good at hiding his emotions, had such an obvious change when he heard the name Fang Yin. He said, "Fang Yin? You are Fang Yin of Huachen? I am also Fang Yin of Yanjing." Fang Yin saw the subtle changes on Qin Chong's face and said, "After all, my hometown is closer to Yanjing, so it belongs to Yanjing." Qin Chong pulled his hand away, and the smile on his face gradually disappeared. There was a strong hostility in his eyes. He looked at Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, who were standing behind Fang Yin, and said sarcastically, "I've long heard of Mr. Fang's name. I heard that Mr. Fang is young, talented, elegant, and often accompanied by beautiful women. Now that I've seen you today, Mr. Fang, you're really lucky with women, aren't you?" Qin Chong. Li Junling didn't expect Qin Chong to suddenly get mad at Fang Yin. He quickly stopped him and said, "Fang Yin is my friend." Qin Chong looked at Li Junling with a gentle expression. Even at a time like this, he could still maintain a smile and said, "Junling, not everyone is qualified to be our friend. It's better not to have friends like this." Jiang Qin was angry. He jumped up and stared at Qin Chong and said, "Hey, how can you say that? Do you have any manners? That's right. You say it as if others are willing to be friends with you." Yuan Lin also said, "Who took the initiative to run into someone else's box to get close to them?" Fan Yan's face also became embarrassed. He was not angry at what Qin Chong said. Not everyone is qualified to be our friend. He felt that Qin Chong's words were very correct. In this world, not everyone was qualified to be your friend. He was angry that Qin Chong said he was lucky with women. Who did he think Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were to him? Fan Yin stared at Qin Chong and said, I know you may have heard of me somewhere. Maybe there is some hatred between us that even I don't know about, but if there is anything, come to me. Don't get these girls involved, okay? They're all my girls. They are very clean and pure children. Qin Chong sneered and said, if that's the case, of course, it can't be better. However, your character is obviously not so trustworthy. You already have a girlfriend, but you hook up with other women. I'm afraid it's not so easy to be a Phoenix man. Fan Yin looked at Qin Chong and said calmly, if you don't tell me clearly, I will let you see me clearly. Is this a threat? This is a warning. Qin Chong laughed and adjusted the glasses on the bridge of his nose. He looked at Fan Yin and said, to be honest, whether it is a threat or a warning, it sounds like a joke. Our Qin family never threatens others, but we never accept other people's threats. Our Qin family never warns others, but we are not afraid of other people's warnings. If you don't know the weight of the two words Qin family, then go out and ask around. This guy is stupid, isn't he? How dare he threaten the Qin family? A man in a small checkered striped suit said. An ant thinks it is strong and always wants to challenge an elephant. The big man next to him added, Fong, as in square, two fires on top and bottom? Has your brain been fried by the fire? Do you know who you are talking to? The fishnet man looked at Fan Yin with a face full of disdain. Fan Yin sighed softly, looked at Qin Chong and said, you are from the Qin family? Isn't it too late for you to realize this? Qin Chong laughed and said in an unfriendly tone. Fan Yin ignored his sarcasm and deliberately lowered his voice. He said, what is your relationship with Yi Tian? My sister. Qin Chong squinted his eyes and smiled. You finally remembered? In order to climb the ladder of wealth, you went behind your girlfriend's back to seduce other girls. Just because you were a teacher for a few days, you wanted to get close to her first. I want to ask you, where is your face? Where is your morality? Fan Yin shook his head and said, I know Yi Tian is an only child, so it is impossible for her to have an older brother like you. Who are you to Yi Tian? Qin Chong was full of anger and thought that Fan Yin was deliberately humiliating him. He said, my grandfather and Yi Tian's grandfather are blood brothers. He calls my grandfather uncle. My father and Yi Tian's father are also like brothers. Do you think it is wrong for me to call her sister? I'm not sure whether it should be or not. This is Yi Tian's business. If she thinks it should be, then it should be. If she thinks it shouldn't be, then it shouldn't be. Fan Yin looked at Qin Chong with a serious expression and said, I know where your hostility toward me comes from, and this is also something I've always wanted to explain to the Qin family. I and Yi Tian have a very normal teacher-student relationship, and we're also very good friends. She's a very important and special person to me. She's my student and also my sister. Don't believe the rumors in the outside world. There are people purposely slandering Yi Tian, and there are also people purposely splashing dirty water on the Qin family. Don't you know Yi Tian's personality? Deal with it calmly, or ignore it completely. Those rumors will naturally disappear. It will not have any effect on Yi Tian and the Qin family. If you deliberately cause trouble today, or if there is a conflict between us, it will instead arouse the curiosity and passion of the bystanders. They will start to pay attention to this matter again and reinterpret the relationship between me and Yi Tian. Qin Chong, you are a smart man. You should know what is best for all of us. Don't scold me, and I won't hit you. We will pretend to be friendly and drink, suppressing all the anger in our stomachs. Let those malicious rumor-mongers' plans fail, let their wishes fail, and make it seem as if nothing had happened. What do you think? Qin Chong no longer sneered. Instead, he thoughtfully looked at Fan Yan's face. After a long time, Qin Chong finally sighed and said, no wonder there are such rumors. No wonder the Qin family's Qin Yi Tian, who is as arrogant as a queen, has a special liking for you. You are indeed a very powerful person. Fong Yin waved his hand and said, "Even if you want to cooperate with me, you don't need to make me sound so good. If you act too intimate with me, it will cause the bystanders to misunderstand and think that I have some kind of unspeakable relationship with Etienne. This isn't something hard for me to accept. After all, it is a great honor for any man to have a scandal with Etienne. However, this isn't fair to Etienne. She's not a casual person. But Fong Yin, what do you take me for? What do you take our Qin family for?" The smile on Qin Chang's face was a little cold and sinister. He looked at Fong Yin as if he was looking at an idiot. "Your asshole behavior has tarnished the reputation of my sister and the Qin family. Now you're telling me not to be angry and not to be angry. If I do that, it will confirm other people's suspicions and let the bad people's plan succeed. Is this what you want to say?" Fong Yin thought about it and nodded. "It sounds quite shameless, but it is true. Don't scold me, and I won't hit you. We can live in harmony." Fong Yin pointed at the red wine on the table and said, "There's still half a bottle of flame snake here. It was sent by your fiancée, Miss Li Junling. If you don't mind, we can sit down and have a drink. What do you think? If I don't scold you, you won't hit me?" Qin Chang looked at Fong Yin and asked. "That's right. I said that." Fong Yin nodded. "You mean that you were going to hit me? If you don't scold me, why would I hit you?" Fong Yin laughed and said, "People who practice martial arts have martial art morality as their top priority. They are kind and benevolent. They pay attention to etiquette. They cultivate their character and abandon tyranny. Help those in need, drive away evil, and support righteousness. Don't fight for power. Do good deeds, and you'll be blessed. Accumulate virtue, and you will be remembered for 100 generations. This is the martial art morality family motto that we must memorize before we learn martial arts. We will not easily hit people unless we have no other choice." "You little bastard." A young man behind Qin Chang was more angry. He scolded, "Try and touch us." "Ha!" Fong Yin suddenly raised his right leg and did a beautiful horse split kick. The cloth shoe on his foot heavily slapped on the man's forehead. Chapter 702. Crack. The man had no ability to resist and fell head first onto the floor of the private room, because Fong Yin's kick was so powerful that his head hit the ground first. In other words, when his head hit the ground, his feet were still in the air, so all the gravity was borne by his brain. After falling to the ground, he didn't even make a sound before he fainted. "You little bastard. Move. Let's try." The words were still in his ears, but the person who spoke had already fainted. After a moment of silence, people began to rush over to check on their friends. "Liu Haoran, are you okay? Call the police. Someone killed him." "Liu Haoran is dead? Call Liu Haoran's family. This kid is finished. We must kill him." Everyone accused Fong Yin of violence. F*CKU. Someone opened his mouth, wanting to insult Fong Yin. Fong Yin glanced over, and that man immediately shut his mouth in shock. His body even took 2 steps back. After seeing Fong Yin's kick, they didn't want to become the next Liu Haoran. "How could you?" The young man took a step back and felt that it was embarrassing to be so cowardly in front of everyone. He stepped forward again, gritted his teeth, and shouted, "How could you hit someone?" Fong Yin looked at him with a smile and said, "We are all people of quality. How good would it be to kick him down? Open your mouth and shut your F***king bastard. That will affect your image." Qin Chang stared at Fong Yin with sharp eyes and said, "Fong Yin, is this your attitude when dealing with things? I'm going to disappoint you again, right?" Fong Yin said, "It's strange. There are always people who think that I should admit defeat, apologize, and take a step back to make peace. But I'm clearly not wrong. Why should I admit defeat? Why should I apologize? Why should I take a step back to make peace? If I take a step back the first time, there will be a second time, a third time, and even retreat will become a habit, an instinct. In that case, I may lose the courage to take a step forward forever." Qin Chang glanced at Liu Haoran on the ground and said, "So, in order to show your courage, you directly knocked him out?" "I didn't hit him to prove my courage," Fong Yin said. "When he scolded me just now, he asked me to touch him. So I touched him. He was shouting so loudly. You should have heard it, right? Fang Yin said. Fang Yin. Qin Chong adjusted his glasses like an enraged leopard. His abdomen was buzzing, and he shouted Fang Yan's name in a low voice. When Li Junling saw the conflict between Fang Yin and Qin Chong, he hurriedly tried to mediate. He looked at Qin Chong and said, Qin Chong, Fang Yin doesn't have any evil intentions. Let's just let this matter pass. Just take it as giving me some face. How about it? Qin Chong looked at Li Junling with a gentle look in her eyes, but she couldn't hide the anger in her voice. Li Junling, you are my fiancé. I am willing to give you face and protect Li Junling's reputation with you. However, if I let this matter go, how am I going to explain it to the Qin family? How is he going to explain this to Lu Haoran, who was knocked out by him with a kick? It's not that I don't give you face, it's that he doesn't give me face. I gave you face, Fang Yin said. When I knew that you and Qin Etienne were relatives, I already wanted to save face for you. I didn't want to quarrel or fight if I could. I also said at that time that if there was any conflict between the two of us, it would confirm the bad rumors in the outside world, which would be bad for Etienne and your Qin family. And the result? Fang Yin pointed to Lu Haoran, who was lying on the ground, and said, I don't know how you will fight back when others call young Master Qin Chong a bastard. Fang Yin, don't go too far. But he called me a bastard, so it's natural for me to kick him. Do you think it's too much? It's his fault for insulting others. But he is still young, and it's understandable for him to be impatient. Qin Chong helped Lu Haoran explain. This sentence was said to Lu Haoran, who was in a coma, and also to his friends who were still awake. At least, he wanted to let them know that he was on their side. Moreover, he was trying to help Lu Haoran get out of the blame. Fang Yin grinned and said, If being young is a capital to make mistakes, then I'm also quite young, so it shouldn't be a problem to beat him up, right? Puff. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were originally worried that teacher Fang Yin would be at a disadvantage, and their faces were as bitter gourds on the vine. When they heard Fang Yin shamelessly say that he was also very young, they couldn't help but laugh. This was the Fang Yin they knew. This was the Mr. Fang they knew. Mr. Fang, he really had to come out. 3 years of silence, 3 years of suffering, finally all passed. Not only Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, even Li Junling's little face was twitching. She couldn't help but want to laugh, but because of Qin Chong's identity, she could only suppress it. Therefore, the skin of her slender neck was squeezed into a light pink, and the blue tubes were also slightly protruding, faintly discernible. Qin Chong was infuriated by Fang Yin. He had come into contact with countless people and had many conflicts with them or backstabbed them. However, he had never met a scoundrel like Fang Yin who pestered him endlessly. When facing Fang Yin, he was like a mouse trying to pull a tortoise. He didn't know where to start. The tortoise retracted its head into the tortoise shell, and Fang Yin, because every part of him was extremely sharp. He was shameless and had no bottom line. Scolding him was a compliment, and he might not be able to beat him. Fang Yin looked at Qin Chong and said, I understand how you handled it, and I hope you can understand my situation. Qin Etienne and I are innocent. People outside are tarnishing his reputation, tarnishing the reputation of your Qin family, and you also want to tarnish your own reputation? Don't try to scold me. I will beat you. Don't try to beat me. You can't beat me. And don't try to scare me with the tiger skin of your Qin family. Do you know Jiang Junling? He has disappeared without a trace. That's because he doesn't dare to come out to see me. When he comes out, I will still beat him. Even Jiang Junling can't do anything to me. What can you do to me? Fang Yin. Qin Chong was already beginning to gnash his teeth. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you something. It is the matter of Jiang Junling that I just mentioned. I want to see the old man of the general family, Jiang Shifu, and he is a sensible old man. He knows that his grandson has done very bad things and is worse than a beast. He said that he wanted to strangle this unfilial grandson with his own hands. But the old man is pitiful and can't see that unfilial grandson, so he said that he will be expelled from the general family, and his name will be removed from the family tree. In the future, even if he dies, he will not be able to enter the ancestral hall or the ancestral grave of the general family. He will be a lonely wild ghost for all eternity. It had to be said that the news that Fong Yin threw out was extremely shocking. Qin Chong was so shocked that he couldn't speak, and the others all opened their mouths wide in disbelief. "You're saying that the old man was expelled from the general family by Jiang Junling? What bad things did he do? Why did the general family remove him from the family tree? That's impossible, right? But Jiang Junling hasn't appeared for a long time, and now the one in charge is the general family's major, General Junxing." Qin Chong stared at Fong Yin with a sharp gaze and asked in a serious tone, "Is what you said true?" He felt very sad and a strong sense of defeat. Who was he? He was the Qin family's flirtatious little prince, the most beautiful existence among the flowers. He was smart, knowledgeable, elegant, charming, loved and liked by everyone. No matter where he went, he was the focus of the crowd. But today, he felt that he was the focus, a dessert that was scorched by the big sun that was Fong Yin. Fong Yin was a dazzling sun, and his light shone everywhere. In front of him, Qin Chong couldn't gain any advantage, and instead, he lost face. Once this matter was over, he didn't know how Li Junwei would look at him. Fong Yin nodded and said, "It's true. The news will probably come out in 2 days, and I think that guy, General Xing, will be very happy to do this. Of course, the premise is that the old man of the general family keeps his word and doesn't go back on his words." "Understood." Qin Chong looked at Fong Yin with a deep gaze and said, "I still have to say that this is not the reason for me to back down. You have a girlfriend, and her name is Yi Ro, right?" "Yes, she's my girlfriend." Fong Yin nodded. Yi Ro was his girlfriend, which made him feel warm in his heart. Whether one person asked him or a million, he would proudly say, "Yes, she is my girlfriend." "You just said that Qin Etian is your student and also your sister. Is that true?" "Yes. Since you already have a girlfriend, and you only treat Qin Etian as your sister." Qin Chong's mouth showed a cold smile and said, "Can you promise to everyone here that you will never pester Etian again and will never be a couple with her? Can you do it?" Fong Yin didn't answer immediately, but looked thoughtfully at the man standing in front of him. He was a Casanova and a master of picking up girls. This was something that she was certain of when he first arrived. Only now did Fong Yin realize that he was a smart person. He was even smarter than he had imagined. "I don't have a brother." A cold and arrogant woman's voice came. "So, I am no one's sister." Chapter 703. Qin Chong was a smart man. Generally, the younger generation who could be pushed to do something by the family wouldn't be too bad. First, he used Fong Yan's own words to shut Fong Yan's mouth, confirmed the teacher-student relationship between Fong Yin and Qin Etian, and then asked Fong Yin to promise in front of everyone that he would never have any affair with Qin Etian in the future. There were 2 advantages to doing this. One was that the rumor that Qin Etian was a third party was cleared, and Qin Etian and the Qin family were innocent. The other advantage was that it was confirmed that Fong Yin would never have any chance to have any relationship with the Qin family in the future. Fong Yin was Fong Yin, and the Qin family was the Qin family. In this way, he could always maintain his pride in front of Fong Yin, and when he wanted to do something, he could make sure that he could surpass Fong Yin in terms of resources and connections. Qin Chong didn't like Fong Yin. He didn't like him at first sight. He thought that Fong Yin and he were the same kind of people, the same kind of men who pretended to be pretentious, cheap, and good at hiding their emotions and real thoughts. Such men were very dangerous, and he thought that he was also very dangerous. Of course, Fong Yin was more dangerous. He could kick people until they fainted. He couldn't do this kind of thing. It was not that he didn't want to do it, but his legs couldn't kick so high. Therefore, it was the best thing for the Qin family to cut off the relationship between Fong Yin and the Qin family. Fong Yin understood Qin Chong's intention, so he thought that this guy was a smart man. If he removed the dirty words from Qin Etian and the Qin family, he would do a good job, and the Qin family would naturally compensate him and reward him. He kicked him out of the Qin family's big ship and let him fall into the sea to swim naked, which was in his personal interest. And to do these things, he just needed to explain it in public. Of course, Fang Yin could go back on his words in the future, but at that time, his character and credibility would naturally be questioned by the public. Fang Yin had to answer the question directly. For the sake of Qin Etienne's reputation and Yi Rou's face, he had to give a clear answer that was in line with the interests of Qin Chang. He and Qin Etienne were only teacher and student, and they would never be a couple. In this way, Qin Etienne's mistress label would be removed, and Yi Ruru would feel comfortable knowing how to deal with this matter. Which woman would like to hear that her boyfriend had an affair with another woman? It was precisely because he understood Qin Chang's thoughts that Fang Yin was not willing to walk into the trap so easily. He had inherited his grandfather Fang Hui's craftiness. He would rather die than suffer a loss and desperately take advantage of others. It's natural for me to take advantage of you, but if you want to take advantage of me, then there's no way we can close this deal. When Fang Yin was about to give an answer that could perfectly solve all the problems and give Qin Chang a fatal blow, he heard a familiar woman's voice. I don't have an elder brother, and I can't be anyone's younger sister. The voice was cold and arrogant, giving people a feeling that it was aggressive. People hurriedly turned around and saw a woman in a modified black knight suit, who looked like a handsome young knight, striding towards them in black leather boots. The woman's hair was coiled up high, revealing a slender neck like a swan. Her face was delicate and flawless, and her bright eyes were like the brightest stars in the night sky. She didn't wear any makeup, but she was born with heavy colors and thick ink. Even if she didn't hold it in, she had a kind of breathtaking majesty. The word majesty was not a good thing to be used on a woman. However, when it was used on this woman, it made people feel that it was a matter of course. She walked so simply, as if she was leading an army of thousands of horses and horses. Everyone who saw her felt an oppressive sense of urgency. Aura. This was the legendary aura of a person. Because the private room was already crowded, she stopped at the door of the private room. She looked through the crowd and unscrupulously fixed her eyes on Fang Yan's face. She said, "I'm not your sister, and you're not my brother." Fang Yan touched his nose and smiled bitterly. Why is this young lady here? It couldn't be cut, and it was messy. It seemed like things were going to get more and more complicated this time. The arrival of Qin Etienne naturally attracted countless people to watch. Not to mention her current status in the Qin family. Just the title of the first beauty in Yinjing was attractive enough. Wow, is that Qin Etienne of the Qin family? So beautiful. I heard that most of the Qin family's business is managed by her now. She's going to take over the Qin family. I don't understand why she wants to be a mistress. Who is qualified to let a woman like her be a mistress? Could it be the one from the Jiang family? Qin Chang did not expect to meet Qin Etienne here. Although he was a few years older than Qin Etienne and could indeed be considered as Qin Etienne's brother, he was still a little timid in front of Qin Etienne. He smiled and said, "Etienne, why are you here?" Qin Etienne looked at him expressionlessly and said, "My friend is here. Why can't I come?" Qin Chang adjusted his glasses and said with a warm smile, "I wonder which one of you is Etienne's friend?" Fang Yin cursed in his heart. "You already know those rumors, but you still don't know who is Qin Etienne's friend? Me, it's still me. I'm Qin Etienne's friend. Except for those who are not my friends, the rest of my friends," Qin Etienne said. Qin Chang said with a serious expression, "Etienne, if it's someone else, I won't say much. But there are some very bad rumors in the outside world, which are very bad for your image and the Qin family's reputation. I think it's necessary for you to avoid suspicion." Qin Etienne looked at Qin Chang and asked, "Are you saying that I am Fang Yan's mistress? It's good that you know this. Anyway, I think those rumors are groundless." "You can't say that it's groundless," Qin Etienne said. Fang Yan's brows twitched. He had a bad feeling about this. Before he could stop it, Qin Etienne had already continued, "I really like Mr. Fang." Wow. Everyone turned to look at Qin Etienne in disbelief. Before this, they had more or less heard some rumors about Qin Etienne being a mistress, but subconsciously they would not believe it. What kind of person was Qin Etienne? How could someone like her be someone else's mistress? In this world, what kind of man could make Qin Etienne be willing to be a mistress? Because Qin Tian was too outstanding, this kind of rumor did not have much of a market. However, no one expected that the person involved, Qin Tian, would appear here today and admit it in front of them. I really like Mr. Fong. She said this sentence matter-of-factly without hiding it. It was as easy as reaching out and plucking a fruit from a tree. Qin Chong panicked and said, "How can you say something like that? Do you know what this means?" "What does it mean? Does it mean that I like him? Does it mean that I am a mistress?" Qin Tian asked. "You should know the impact this kind of thing will have on you and the Qin family." "What impact?" "Just because the house is bigger, so the woman in that house can't like the man outside." "But you like a man with a girlfriend." "That's true, but—" Qin Tian looked at Fong Yin boldly, just like the first time they met at the entrance of Class 9. At that time, she was wearing a white shirt and blue sleeves, reaching out to Fong Yin and saying, "Hello, I'm Qin Tian." That day, the sun was shining brightly and maple leaves filled the sky. But when I met him, he didn't have a girlfriend yet. While I liked him, he didn't have a girlfriend either. I fell in love with her first, but she didn't choose me. Instead, she chose another woman. How can this prove that I'm a homewrecker? Qin Tian said to Fong Yin, as well as to everyone else in the room, in a serious tone. Qin Chong's brows knitted tightly. If he could, he really wanted to tape Qin Tian's mouth shut. How could such words come out of Qin Tian's mouth? How could it come out of the mouth of a woman from the Qin family? Did she have any dignity? Did she have any restraint? How could she lower herself for a man like that? A man who had nothing good about him. She was Qin Tian, the rich Qin Tian. How could she be like an ordinary woman, a wildflower, a weed, and allow herself to be mixed with a pile of mud? But now that he has a girlfriend, he only treats you as a student, as his sister. Qin Chong had to remind this sister, who was stuck in the mud and could not get out of it. When he was looking at Fong Yin, he was very curious. Fong Yin looked like a handsome man, but he was a cunning and sharp-tongued freak. What kind of charm did he have to attract a woman like Qin Tian? To be honest, with Qin Tian's talent, appearance, identity, and wealth, what kind of young talent had she not seen? Why did she have a special liking for this Fong Yin? Yes, Qin Tian nodded. I'm just a loser, like countless other losers in the field of love. I don't know where my love came from, and I love deeply. How could such a person become a mistress? Chapter 704. Love came from nowhere, but it went deep. Fong Yin stood there, looking at this proud girl who was loved by many people. He felt like he had just eaten an unripe plum. It was sour and sweet. Everyone had vanity. Fong Yin had to admit that he was very happy to be pursued and liked by Qin Tian, who was excellent, beautiful, and 1 in a billion in terms of family background and ability. Even if all the beautiful words were used on her, Fong Yin would not feel that it was too much. It was a sweet feeling. However, Fong Yin already had Yuro. He already had his destined girl. He and Qin Tian could only be teacher and student, friend and confidant. That was all. He appreciated the girl's love and was touched by her true feelings. However, they could only be two passers-by who were not destined to be together. You met me, and I met you. Then they passed each other. At the beginning, they might miss each other. However, as time went by, they gradually lost each other's information. Then the familiar face in their minds gradually became blurred. One morning, they suddenly woke up and felt that they had lost something. However, they just could not remember what they had lost. At that time, they completely disappeared from each other's lives. It was as if they had never met each other. This feeling was so sour that it made people want to cry. Fong Yin did not know how to respond to Qin Tian's words. Even Qin Chong did not know how to respond to Qin Tian's words. She was so straightforward and did not hide her feelings. She knew it was wrong, but she did not know how to criticize her. Because you like someone, you have to bear the name of a mistress. Qin Tian said with a wry smile. But even so, can it make me not like him anymore? Impossible. Qin Tian looked at Fong Yin and said, "What does it have to do with me if others scold me? They are not even qualified to stand in front of me. How can I care about their opinions? Of course, I don't like to be bullied, so I might not be able to take revenge on everyone, but I will take revenge on people I don't like. Those who insulted me, I'll let them seek their own humiliation. Those who insulted me, I'll return it 100-fold. I never make promises easily, but every time I make a promise, I will do it 100%. Everyone looked at each other and then looked at Qin Yiqian in horror. They knew that this was a threat, but they had no choice but to accept it. She was Qin Yiqian. Whether it was asking for humiliation or paying it back 100-fold, it was not too difficult for her. She could do it. However, Qin Yiqian was a little abnormal today. Although Qin Yiqian was extremely intelligent and every business operation could be called a miracle, he was kind to others and was willing to make money with everyone to achieve a win-win situation. Whether it was her business partners or her employees, they all spoke highly of her. Some said that she was a real aristocrat, and some said that she was like a princess. But today, Qin Yiqian made a threat in front of everyone, like an enraged female leopard. Their eyes shifted to Fang Yan's face. Could it be that everything Qin Yiqian did was to protect her lover? Qin Chong was not old, and most of the people who played with him were also very young. They were the same age as Fang Yan, but at this moment, their hearts were filled with envy and jealousy towards Fang Yan. To be able to make the goddess in their hearts so wholeheartedly protect a person, even if they were to become ghosts, they would still be happy. Qin Yiqian looked at Qin Chong and said, "Your friend is injured. Shouldn't you send him to the hospital?" Qin Chong's expression was slightly stiff, but soon he grinned and said, "Yes. Howren is not feeling well. I don't know what happened, but he suddenly fainted. Maybe it's because of anemia. His physical condition is too poor. I have to send him to the hospital." Qin Yiqian nodded and said, "See you." Qin Chong took a deep look at Fang Yan, then turned and walked out of the box. The handsome men and beautiful women who followed him did not dare to breathe since Qin Yiqian came. Seeing Qin Chong turn and leave, they hurriedly picked up Lu Haoren, who was still unconscious, and ran outside. Li Junling hesitated for a moment and said to Fang Yan, "Mr. Fang, I'm sorry to disturb you. I didn't expect such a thing to happen. I hope you can have a good time." Fang Yan looked at her with a smile and said, "It's good that you didn't expect it. You didn't expect it, and we didn't expect such a thing to happen. Everyone is very unwilling." Li Junling nodded and said to Qin Yiqian, "Miss Qin, goodbye." "Goodbye." Qin Yiqian nodded indifferently and said. Others praised Li Junling as the piano goddess of Huaxia, but she didn't care about any gods. With the huge background and strength of the Qin family, as well as the huge resources of its media empire, she could be the god of creation. Whoever she wanted to make a god would be a god. Li Junling said goodbye to Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, then turned and left the box. When she walked out, he was very considerate and helped to close the door of the box. Qin Yiqian walked to Fang Yan and said, "This woman is not simple." Fang Yan smiled bitterly and said, "How can there be a simple woman in this place?" Qin Yiqian was sure that Fang Yan understood the situation, so he didn't say anything more on this topic. He looked at Fang Yan and asked, "What were you going to say just now?" "I haven't thought about it yet," Fang Yan said. "Is everyone in the Qin family so powerful?" "There are a few very powerful people in the Qin family. You should be careful when you meet them in the future. Qin Chong can only be regarded as a medium talent. His purpose is too obvious, and he is eager for quick success. This time, he didn't do a good job." Qin Yiqian commented without any emotion. Standing at her level, she wouldn't overestimate Qin Chong, nor would she deliberately belittle the other party. Moreover, the person who asked her this question was Fang Yan, so she needed to say her real thoughts. He shouldn't stand up against you at this time, whether for public or private reasons. Since he has done such a thing, it proves that he doesn't regard me as his sister in his heart, nor does he put the Qin family in the first place. Isn't it too stupid to expose his position so easily? You have explained the reason to him clearly, but he is too selfish and makes a joke of himself. I wanted to say a few words to him, but after all, he is a few years older than me. If I make him embarrassed, others will laugh at him. It's better to send him out. What the eye doesn't see, the heart doesn't grieve. I think I have explained it clearly, but he may not have heard it clearly. Fang Yin said with a smile, "You know, I have an unpleasant face. Everyone wants to step on me when they see me. I really have no choice. I really didn't want to hit him just now. If you don't hit people, you're not the Mr. Fang I know." Qin Yiqian chuckled, and then turned his eyes to Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, saying, "We haven't seen each other for a long time, have we?" Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were no strangers to Qin Yiqian, especially during the 3 years when Fang Yin was in mourning. They had met Qin Yiqian many times in Swallow Dock, but they couldn't fall in love with Qin Yiqian. In contrast, they preferred Yu Rou because Qin Yiqian's aura was too strong. She didn't say anything, didn't do anything. She simply stood there, but it made people feel that she wasn't the same kind of person as them. Of course, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin also knew that they were not the same kind of people. Yu Rou was different. Although she looked cold, she was extremely kind and gentle. She would teach them all kinds of knowledge, ask people to prepare delicious food for them, and take care of them at the right time. They knew that Qin Yiqian and Yu Rou were competitors. If they had to choose, they would naturally support Yu Rou. Of course, no matter whether it was Qin Yiqian or Yu Rou, Jiang Qin would not support them. She only supported herself. When Qin Yiqian first came, they hadn't thought about how to greet Qin Yiqian. Now that Qin Yiqian took the initiative to greet them, they felt flattered. It was like this every time. Every time Qin Yiqian greeted them, they would feel flattered. It was as if an amazing person suddenly took the initiative to talk to them. It was a sudden surprise. Many times, they reflected on this mentality. They felt that there was no need to do this. They were already very familiar with each other, and they were already friends. Qin Yiqian was amazing, and they were doing well. However, when they met again, that feeling would be even stronger. It was also because of this mentality that they could never be friends with Qin Yiqian. Friends were equal. It was natural. If a friend said something to you, how could you still be friends with such a surprise? Sister Yiqian. Jiang Qin looked at Qin Yiqian and said with a smile, "Long time no see. I didn't expect to see you here." Sister Yiqian, you're getting more and more beautiful. Yuan Lin also said with a smile, "Since Mr. Fang is here today, let's celebrate and have a few drinks." Qin Yiqian nodded and said, "Of course. I haven't drunk in a long time. Moreover, I said so many embarrassing things just now. If I don't drink some wine, how can I tell others that I speak the truth after drinking?" Chapter 705. Junling Clubhouse was named after the piano goddess, Li Junling. Li Junling would play a piano piece here every week. If she had enough time, she would come here several nights in a row. She was the owner of this place and the queen of this clubhouse. This place could give her a greater sense of accomplishment. Li Junling set up an independent rest room in Junling Mastery. When she was tired of playing or tired of socializing, she would come here to take a nap. When Li Junling entered the electronic lock password on the door and pushed open the door of the restroom, the luxuriously decorated room was filled with a faint smell of tobacco. Li Junling didn't smoke, but she liked to smell this faint fragrance. She took a deep breath and said in a reproachful tone, "You're smoking again." A handsome man was sitting on a recliner by the window, holding the latest issue of Playboy magazine in his hand. Many blonde beauties on the cover were wearing fiery red bunny costumes. Their buttocks and breasts were big, and their breasts were swaying. It gave people a strong sense of visual impact. The man's eyes turned from the magazine and said with a gentle smile, "I said I wouldn't smoke here, but I couldn't help it." Li Junling took off her slender high-heeled shoes at the door and walked behind the man with her bare white feet. She reached out and stroked his handsome face. She said in a soft voice, "You know, I'm not really blaming you. It's hard for you to come here. If you want to smoke, smoke. I don't want to force you. Besides, I don't hate the smell of cigarettes, and I don't hate the Suze cigarettes you smoke. You always indulge me. I can't control myself in the future." The man stroked the woman's small hand with one hand and said with a smile, "An unrestrained man is very dangerous. After a woman gets married, her identity will change. She is the husband's wife and the husband's mother. Women can't help but spoil their husband like a child. Men are also born with a strong sense of dependence on women's breasts. Li Junling put her chin on the man's head from behind and sniffed the shampoo fragrance in the man's hair. She said, "I think you're the cutest child in the world. I just can't help but spoil you. No wonder I always like to come here." Junling's words are nice and philosophical. Junling shouldn't be a pianist, but a philosopher. "I'm a musician." Li Junling gently rubbed his chin on the man's hair and said, "Every musician is an artist. Every artist has the opportunity to become a philosopher." It sounds like a philosopher is the final advancement. Most philosophers are lunatics, Li Junling said with a smile. "Only by entering a state of insanity can I see the world clearly and see the truth. I feel like I'm going crazy. Otherwise, how could I become your woman?" There was a silent smile on the man's face. With one hand holding the Playboy magazine and the other hand caressingly Junling's delicate pink face, he said, "Do you feel wronged again? I heard that Qin Chong is also here today." "Yeah." Li Junling straightened his body and said with a smile, "He is my fiancé. Isn't it natural for him to visit me?" "That's to be expected." The man sighed softly and said, "The man of the general family cannot marry the woman of the Qin family, but he stole the woman of the man of the Qin family. Tell me, is this fate?" Li Junling sighed softly and said, "Of course, Li Junling can't compare with the woman of the Qin family. Qin Tian also came just now. I've long heard of her name, and it's not the first time we've met. However, when she walked in, I still felt a strong sense of oppression. Maybe it's not just me. Everyone who sees her feels the same way. Have you experienced that kind of feeling? She's like an ancient queen. When she walks over, all the subjects have to bow or even kneel down. They don't even dare to breathe loudly. Even flattering words are really unnecessary. It's a kind of disrespect to her. Tell me, when did I, Li Junling, think about flattering others? Why is there such a big difference between people? Beautiful women were born proud. Li Junling could also be considered a dragon among men. In a certain small circle, she was also the object of admiration and flattery. For example, in her Junling club, she was fully deserving of being the most dazzling star. However, tonight, that Qin Etienne just happened to come. Qin Etienne's greatest ability was that no matter where she went, her powerful aura would turn that place into her home field. You stood in front of her like a lowly little servant. You only knew to speak when she spoke to you. You only dared to leave when she nodded in agreement. Which woman would like this kind of feeling? At least, Li Junling didn't like it. Even now, his heart was still unbearably uncomfortable. He had been humiliated, but he didn't know how to fight back because the other person didn't do anything. She didn't even look at him. Of course, not looking at him was another form of humiliation. An adopted daughter should be like Qin Etienne. The man softly said the saying that resounded throughout Yinjing City. He said, "An adopted daughter should be like Jiang Junling." Jiang Junling has disappeared into thin air. Because of this saying, he soared to the sky, and also because of this saying, he became a laughing stock. Perhaps it was because Qin Etienne was a woman, and a very beautiful one at that. Therefore, everyone was particularly tolerant of her and was willing to give her more convenience and care. Therefore, until now, everything she did was amazing, and every business she invested in could be called a miracle. After Jiang Junling's accident, some people also began to question whether Qin Etienne's ability was worthy of this saying. The final result is well-deserved. Li Junling smiled and said, "I think whether it is worthy or not, the key is to see whether you have a strong opponent. If Qin Etienne's opponent was Fang Yin, what would the situation be like? Thinking about it, it is really an interesting idea." The man shook his head and said, "Impossible. We have evaluated Qin Etienne's characteristics. She has a firm mind and strong willpower. Because she is quite intelligent, she has 100% confidence in her every word and deed, and it is difficult to change the decision she has made. Even her mother, who is known as the Demon Emperor, can do nothing about it. Moreover, because of that incident, she is full of trust and dependence on Fang Yan. No one thought that the hastily ended kidnapping incident would make Fang Yin who he is today. If that incident had been successful, or if she had simply killed the hostage, would there still be a mess that we need to clean up today? Why did Fang Yin rise so fast? That is because Lu Chaoga is behind him, Chaoyan technology. Why can Chaoyan technology develop so fast and remain independent? That is because of Qin Etian and the support of the Qin family. Without Qin Etian, whether Fang Yin and Lu Chaoga could keep Chaoyan technology is really unknown, which Boston Creeper doesn't need a hard fence to support it. Li Junling walked to the man's legs and squatted down. She reached out and stroked his crotch. She looked up with a charming smile and said, "You have a reaction? Is this kind of book that good?" The man closed the magazine in his hand and said, "Of course not as good as you." So, the woman unzipped the man's pants, squatted on the ground, and began to work. No one would have thought that the goddess of piano, who was respected and worshipped by millions, would be willing to serve the man she loved in such a manner. Our Li family also relies on the Jiang family. If it wasn't like this, Li Junling raised her head during a break in her work, looked at the man and said, "I would have been swallowed by someone else a long time ago, right?" Fang Yin and Lu Chaoga chose the Qin family as a partner. That was the smartest choice, because only the Qin family could resist the Jiang family's offensive, unless the Jiang family was willing to go to all-out war with the Qin family. But at that time, the Jiang family shouldn't have made such preparations, right? Killing 1,000 enemies, losing 800 of your own men. Why let those irrelevant people take advantage of it? The man's whole body lay comfortably on the leather sofa, closed his eyes, and enjoyed this high standard of courtesy. He had a calm smile on his face and said, "The big tail is not left alive. Now that the Jiang family feels threatened, they want to cut off this unlikable tail. Is this enough?" Li Junling began to mutter and said, "Is it just to stir up trouble in the middle? A camel's endurance is super strong, but it's always the last straw that breaks the camel's back." Qin Etian is very smart, and Qin Etian is very powerful, but Qin Etian is a woman in the end. The Qin family's old man hasn't thought of letting her take the helm yet. After all, Qin Etian's parents and uncles are still alive, and her mother is a woman who is harder to provoke than she is. But the Qin family's economic power has fallen into the hands of a woman for 2 generations, which has already caused dissatisfaction among the Qin family's men. This is also the reason why Qin Chong came out tonight to add fuel to the fire. Qin Etian is a mistress. We just released this news, and then the Qin family immediately jumped out to cooperate with us. Tell me, who is Qin Etian's real opponent? We can only be regarded as Qin Etian's potential opponents. The Qin family who has the most direct conflict of interest with her are her real opponents. Qin Chong came out tonight. How many Qin family members will come out tomorrow? Qin Chong has been insulted like this. I'm afraid that Qin Etian will go through another trial, right? The Qin family's rift is getting more and more serious, and the Qin family's old man has to re-examine. When the woman's tongue touched his sensitive part, the man softly moaned, and then he suppressed this irrepressible pleasure and said, "Woman, isn't this good?" He was evaluating Li Junling, but also seemed to be evaluating Qin Etian. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.